Chapter 661. The Old Man in the Middle, Old Jiang, Old Jean, all the other old men, Secretary Ma who was quietly hiding at the side, all the young military personnel and political officials who were eavesdropping and watching from the side. To be honest, why don't you just say that you're going to find faction leader one? Alright, you can go. Old Jean rubbed his brows and waved his hand. After Qin Guang ran far away, the other old men came to comfort Old Jean. Old Jean, don't take it too hard. Qin Guang and faction leader Wen have known each other for a long time. They've always been good friends. Didn't I hear from Jingwei that they play games together every day in school? Maybe they're really playing games together? That's right, don't take it too hard. Sai, unusual people do unusual things. We still lack understanding of martial arts practitioners. They really have a lot of quirks. Who would have thought that they're actually gaming fans? Isn't that mental opium that's very harmful? No, we have to go back and increase the anti-addiction system for all the games in the country. Even adults have to have anti-addiction systems. You're coming up with ideas again, aren't you? You'll be cursed to death by those youngsters. Old Man Jean saw that everyone was discussing among themselves. Save it. Forget it. Children and grandchildren have their own lives. I don't care anymore. I can't care anymore. The people from the pugilistic world didn't stay for long either. One after another they came to bid their farewells. No one was in the mood to eat at the state banquet. No matter how sumptuous the dishes on the table were, no one was in the mood to eat. Everyone was very uncertain and had to bring what they saw back to their sects as soon as possible to discuss. As for some of the sect masters who were there in person, most of them had already agreed to join the pugilistic world in advance. They were just making up their minds again. The next step was to find the Guangding General Office to discuss the specific details of the cooperation. Even some of the weaker sects didn't expect to reach an equal and mutually beneficial agreement. They just hoped that they wouldn't be restricted too much. The two sect masters of Thousand Despair Sect and Thousand Flower Valley were overjoyed. They had made the right choice to choose a side in advance. The only two deputy directors of the Guangding General Office were their eldest disciples. It didn't matter what other people would end up talking about as long as he wouldn't suffer a loss. As for the methods to deal with the major sects, the old men already had a complete set of plans in mind. First of all, regardless of which sect it was, they could forget about treating the common people like ants. This was their bottom line and it couldn't be touched. Secondly, the relationship between the two parties was still based on cooperation. They would enjoy certain privileges according to the degree of contribution they made. At the same time, they would also have to consider their own strength. The stronger they were, the greater the contribution they made, and the more privileges they would enjoy. Of course, the people of the Jianghu were sometimes hard to change. Under certain conditions or circumstances, the people of the Jianghu could still enjoy some privileges that ordinary people could not obtain. For example, they did not need to meddle in the affairs of their enemies. Or even if there were civilian casualties, they would consider the cause of the incident. For example, if a group of hooligans ran into the hands of Jianghu people and provoked them, who could be blamed for that? No matter what, the situation facing the inner force martial artists was that they could no longer be as unbridled as before. They had to transform and restrain themselves. But not everyone was completely out of ideas. What do we do now? This is not the situation that Mr. Ng wants. In the crowd, there were still some people gathered in groups of twos and threes, discussing in low voices. You ask me, but who should I ask? Let Mr. Ng worry about it himself. We will see what he wants to do. You want to rebel against Mr. Ng? Don't talk nonsense. Do you believe that I will fight with you now? Just kidding. How can you make such a joke? Alas, who would have thought that the Wunwen family could make a comeback? Where did Wunwen get such an adventure? Her speed of improvement is really scary. Forget it. Let's go. Qin Guang borrowed a car from the base and drove happily on the road. He was in high spirits when there was a happy occasion. Although it was a hard day today, the result was still gratifying. The individual military exercise was really exciting. As a member of the Jianghu system, he felt at ease after watching it. Other than that, Wunwen had become stronger again. Of course, that was good news. Soon I would be able to uproot the poison sect and the dark sect. By then, I and Wunwen would be avenged. Then I would have nothing to worry about anymore. Most importantly, she was waiting for me in the motel. I smiled proudly and floated in the air. With such a happy mood, Qin Guang found a public parking lot in the town. Then he took out the wig that he had prepared earlier from his bag and ran to the motel. Boss, I'm here again. The boss of the motel looked at Qin Guang quietly. Presidential Suite 301. The entire third floor is yours. Please pay a deposit of 10,000 yuan. Why is it so expensive? Since when did your crappy motel have a presidential suite? We didn't have one at first, but now we do. It was specially made for you and your wife. The quality is definitely not as good as a real presidential suite, but the price is almost right. After all, you have to break at least one of my beds every time. A bed doesn't cost 10,000 yuan. Your iron bed is inlaid with gold. I'm afraid that the building will collapse. Repairing it would cost at least 10,000 yuan. You're right. I'm speechless. That's settled then. Take out the money quickly. You look rich anyway. The boss chuckled. Suddenly, she frowned and raised her eyebrows. Young man, you have a good physique. You look familiar. Qin Guang was creeped out by her gaze. He threw 10,000 yuan down and rushed upstairs. I'm giving you 10,000 yuan. You don't have to return it. Don't gossip. Otherwise you'll be in trouble. The boss took the money. She did not remember who Qin Guang was. Forget it. I really don't understand the world of the rich. Qin Guang pushed the door open happily. I'm coming. Before he finished his sentence, he saw a black shadow pouncing at him like a fierce tiger. The strong wind blew against his face. He could not even stand steadily and fell backwards subconsciously. Oh my God. Before he could finish his sentence, Qin Guang felt a pair of sharp claws grabbing his shoulders. He wanted to struggle, but he saw a pair of white palms coming for his forehead. Wait. Bang. He fainted without hesitation. Who knew what he had experienced that night? His great desolate force was almost sucked dry. Anyway, when he woke up, he was tied to a tree. He felt like his bones were about to fall apart when he moved slightly. What's going on? What happened last night? Why did I knock her out again? Must it be like this every time? Can't we be normal for once? She's going to say that we're innocent again, right? I know she's talking nonsense, but I can't refute her. He struggled to break the rope. He leaned against the tree and took out his phone. Only then did he see the long message one had sent him. Yes, that's right. Nothing happened yesterday. Very good. Shameless as always. I've become very powerful now, and I'm getting stronger with every passing moment. The poison sect and the dark sect have been forced into hiding by me. I'll be able to find their lair very soon. Sis, can you slow down a little? Otherwise I'll feel like my efforts are meaningless. About 30% of the 3 aristocratic families, 8 major sects, 72 sects, and hundreds of small sects have secretly formed an alliance with me. We're just waiting for the final battle after we dig out their lair. But there are undercurrents in the martial arts world. The poison sect and the dark sect are also one of the 8 major sects and are very powerful. As far as I know, they've won over at least 30% of the people in the martial arts world. I don't know how they managed to attract others to form an alliance with them. Maybe there's something I don't know. But it doesn't matter. As long as I keep getting stronger, I might even surpass the level of Wenzong and become a legendary master. By then, no matter what tricks they have up their sleeves, they won't be my match. Ah. Initially, her words were very imposing, and Qin Guang was just about to give her a thumbs up. However, her 4 has had completely shattered the image of this generation's expert. She couldn't have become an idiot from practicing martial arts, could she? Forget it, even if she's an idiot, I can probably save her. Carefully landing on the ground along the tree trunk, Qin Guang decided to return to West Mountain. He glanced at the inn and felt a little uneasy. When he walked out of the forest, a rustling sound came from a tree about 50 to 60 meters away from the tree he was resting on. Wen jumped down from the tree, and when she landed, her legs were so weak that she almost fell on her butt. She had a smile on her face, one that seemed a little shy and a little bitter. She was right. Once she got close to him, she would completely lose control. It wasn't a simple emotional loss, but it was a loss of control from her body to her heart. Every inch of her soul would scream because of his approach, and every inch of her skin and flesh would tremble because of his attraction. He was like a lethal poison. It was really terrible. Was there antimatter hidden in this guy's body? Oh, but then again, he was too good at tormenting people. A dignified guru was actually tormented by him? Wen tried to take 2 more steps, and then she tripped and fell on her back on the ground. She was very aggrieved and hammered the floor. I'm not coming again. I'm not coming again. Bastard. Oh, my stomach. It's so sour. Qin Guang hid far away and silently looked at the lady boss, who was cursing with her hands on her hips. 10,000 yuan is not enough. The prefabricated board is broken. Which heartless animal sent people to torment me on purpose? Qin Guang silently touched his bald head and turned to leave. He thought to himself, although he fainted yesterday, it should also be a terrible and shocking battle. In fact, a lot of things happened in Yanjing City last night. The long-awaited gunshot rang for more than 20 minutes. Many people were awakened from their sleep and then nervously curled up in their homes. Ouyang Qianxing sat on a chair with a gloomy face. He was sitting on a fishing boat heading south along Lansang River. His crazy counterattack had failed. Not even in his wildest dreams did he expect that on that very night, there would be so many sect leaders of various sects and clans who had reached an agreement with the old men to stay overnight in Yanjing City. Less than 5 minutes after he launched his surprise attack, the sect leaders of the big sects and small sects began to arrive one after another. They began to fight with the inner force martial artists that he had managed to win over with great difficulty. There was a huge disparity in strength between the two sides. Other people's helpers were sect leaders, elders and other core members. The people that he could find were mostly outer disciples who had been expelled from their sects or had no abilities. Other than that, some of the individual weapons that were displayed the day before were indeed very powerful. They caused devastating damage to the people that he sent out, and shortened the entire battle to less than half an hour. At the same time, all the special affairs bureaus were destroyed. Other than the spies that had already reached a compromise with the higher-ups, the rest were all arrested at the same time. Those who were arrested were all killed on the spot. Almost no one managed to escape. This was the style of the old men. They would either wait patiently, or they would plan before making a move. Once they were fully prepared, they would attack with the force of a thunderbolt, not giving any chance to struggle or resist. Ouyang Qianxing's sneaky tricks were nothing in front of the old men who had been running this country for decades. When the martial artists feared the power of modern military equipment, it was the time that the backing that Ouyang Qianxing was so proud of began to weaken. It was also the time for the old men to launch their thunderous attacks. However, Ouyang Qianxing never dreamed that their attacks would come so quickly and so fiercely. He thought that there would be a process of wrangling and negotiation, and then the Special Affairs Bureau would be gradually weakened until it was finally replaced. Then, he would be able to take the opportunity to catch them off guard. However, he did not expect that the other party would also be prepared to kill him today. I was fooled by the state banquet after their military exercise. These cunning old foxes. When Ouyang Qianxing realized that he could not do anything, he boarded the fishing boat without hesitation. The boss took $100,000 from him and promised to send him all the way to the southern border. Gradually the sky outside brightened. A ray of sunlight shone through the round glass window in the cabin. Not only was the place where Ouyang Qianxing sat not illuminated, but it was also made even darker by the light. He slowly shrunk into the shadow, his body trembling uncontrollably. His fists were clenched tightly. He could not accept it. He had been working for more than a decade, but he had been uprooted in a short month. It was all just a dream. The sun slowly rose into the sky outside, but the light in the cabin grew dimmer and dimmer until it was pitch black. Even the sunlight from the window could not shine in. Qin Guang found out about the news at around 9 in the morning. He could not say how he felt about it. The Special Affairs Bureau had done all sorts of evil, and they should have met their end a long time ago. He had only participated and witnessed it from the side. Perhaps he had played an indispensable role in the middle, but the real main characters were still the old men. Even though they looked like they did not respect their elders in front of him, they were actually sharp stones that stood tall in the middle of the river in the torrent of history. If he underestimated them because of their jokes, he would end up like the Special Affairs Bureau. However, he was a little unhappy that he did not manage to catch the unlucky director Ouyang. It gave him a feeling that the culprit had not been punished. Qin Guang parked his car by the roadside and played with his phone out of boredom. He thought to himself, "Director Ouyang, every debt has a debtor. Don't come looking for trouble with me for no reason." Chapter 662. In fact, he knew that he didn't have to worry about it. The old men's military exercise was too successful. Even Wenwen felt threatened, let alone others. If he was Ouyang Qianxing or the leader of the dark sect or poison sect, he would know that it was pointless to focus on a small fry like him. Even if I die, the old men will just send another director to take my position. Even if my communication with Wenwen and the other martial artists isn't smooth, it won't affect the overall situation. Qin Guang was a little disheartened. I'm not that important. Forget it, being a small fry has its advantages. At least when the sky falls, the tall ones will die first. Besides, I'm not really that small. The Guangding General Bureau named after the old man is at least a vice-ministerial level. The old man is the director, right? Have you ever seen a 21-year-old official? Are you afraid? Are you nervous? Do you want to learn? Sorry, others can't learn. What if Lin Jingwei or another second or third generation tried to take my position? that would cause an uproar. Other second or third generations were promoted. Just like Uncle Wu, they had to climb up one step at a time. If they made a mistake in the middle and fell, it would basically be the end of their life. It took Wu Shan decades to climb to the same rank as Qin Guang. Too many things happened during this period and he paid a huge price. He even lost his wife and son. Wu Tong still hadn't truly forgiven him. Just thinking about it made him feel tired. However, Qin Guang only used less than half a month. He was carried up while lying on the ground. He had to do it. Although he didn't take it seriously, this was a unique miracle in the entire country and since the founding of China. Of course, there would be people who were secretly dissatisfied. There were many people like Chao Shiming. However, after yesterday there would probably be fewer people who were dissatisfied. Now, his importance was not limited to Wen alone. It had been proven that he was also a link between the Wuxia government and inner force martial artists. He seemed to have a unique experience in dealing with inner force martial artists. The elders treated him as a diplomat in Wuxia. In addition, among the thousands of elite soldiers and police officers who had received his special training in the special training area of Shund, only about 40 of them had really learned his skills. However, the rest of them had also witnessed his incredible ability to turn stone into gold with their own eyes. They had also witnessed his amazing dart skills on the spot, so they were sincerely convinced by him as the chief drill master. Just as Old Man Chao had said, all of this would be the accumulation of Qin Guang's experience and prestige in the army in the future. Regardless of whether he would officially enter the military in the future, these were his qualifications and connections. In the future he would be familiar with his face wherever he went, and he would be able to swipe his face card everywhere. Qin Guang slapped the steering wheel. Alas, the old man originally wanted to rely on his pair of iron fists to make a name for himself, but unknowingly he became the most powerful person in China. How could he endure this? What do I need this iron rod for? I have so many tricks up my sleeves, but in the end, I'm just a pitiful face card. With a long sigh he started the car again. Just as he was about to continue to the city, a black Audi suddenly rushed up from the back. A sense of crisis arose in Qin Guang's heart. This person has bad intentions. Alright, I'm regretting it now. Actually, I prefer to live a peaceful life. I only wanted to show off a little in my heart, and someone immediately rushed out to take my life. This karmic retribution came too quickly. If Qin Guang could start the car with his driving skills, the Audi would not be able to catch up with him. However, he had just started the car and the other person had already rushed up to him at full speed. A deafening sound of brakes rang out, and then the Audi slammed into the side door of Qin Guang's car, causing his car to tilt up slightly. Fortunately, Qin Guang reacted quickly. Seeing that the situation was not good, he jumped to the side and jumped to the passenger seat. Otherwise, his whole body might have been wrapped in the deformed car. But at the same time, the violent vibration of the car caused him to hit the roof cover, and he was a little dizzy. Without much time to think, Qin Guang grabbed the satchel on the passenger seat, opened the passenger door and jumped out. He wrapped the satchel around his waist and was on full alert. Two people rushed out of the Audi. They were dressed in black and their faces were covered. One of them was holding a narrow triangular poisonous blade, and they surrounded Qin Guang from both sides. Qin Guang, it's time for you to go to hell. One of them said in a low, muffled voice. The other person also smiled sinisterly. I thought I wouldn't have a chance to find you in the middle of the night. It's really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find you by chance. If the heavens want you dead, you have to die. Although the two of them were shouting arrogantly, their eyes were extremely solemn. Although they didn't have much information on Qin Guang, they knew that he didn't have any internal energy. However, they knew that Qin Guang had a myriad of tricks up his sleeves despite not having any internal energy. Not to mention that his darts and hidden weapons were the best in the world. His arms were extremely powerful, and he didn't even need to use internal energy to injure others. Other than that, they also heard that Qin Guang was the kind of person who risked his life. If there was a disagreement, he would exchange injury for injury and defeat the strong with the weak. The danger came too suddenly and too hastily. Qin Guang swept his eyes over them, but he could not tell how strong they were. However, from the way they walked and the way they held their sabers, he could tell that they had real martial arts. They were much more powerful than the two poison sect and dark sect subordinates he had chased in the forest outside Xishan town. They were most likely bone force martial artists. There was no way they could run. F***ck, if I can't beat them, the old man will run first. Umph. How dare the two of you try to fight me? Ouyang Qianxing has already been executed. Are you two lackeys going to avenge him? Qin Guang lied through his teeth, completely guessing the other party's identity. His hands shook and a total of 8 darts slipped out of his waist bag. He held them in his left and right hands. What? Impossible. Bureau Chief Ouyang is a genius. How could something happen to him? Don't try to bluff us. He didn't think that his nonsense would actually lead to the truth. As expected, they're assassins sent by Ouyang Tianxing. Qin Guang thought to himself. That's right. How could they only target the old man? I'm an important person too. How could I be completely ignored? The old man is still valued. That's right, I'm important. A sense of pride rose in his heart. F***ck, what time is this and I'm still showing off? Why would I lie to you? If you don't believe me, try contacting them yourself. Just last night, the Special Affairs Bureau was almost wiped out, okay? Fine, Ouyang Tianxing is not dead, but he fled to avoid punishment. But you two didn't receive the news? You're abandoned. Seriously, bro, put down the butcher's knife. It's not too late to surrender now. I'm the bureau chief of the Guangdong General Headquarters. With me protecting you, you'll have a good life with me in the future. It'll be much better than following Ouyang Tianxing and putting your lives on the line. Qin Guang said tentatively as he slowly retreated. The enemy was strong while he was weak. First show the enemy that we're weak, then reason with them and finally lure them with benefits. This was all a trick. In the end, he wasn't wrong. Ever since the two of them received Ouyang Tianxing's order to chase after Qin Guang, they had completely cut off contact with their superiors. The reason why the Special Case Bureau used a single line of communication was to prevent any information from being leaked, but it had now become a problem. The two of them searched for Qin Guang all night. They only knew that Qin Guang had come to West Mountain, but how could they keep up with Wenwen's movements? Like headless flies, they searched for nothing the whole night. It was only when they were about to give up on the mission and leave in the morning that they saw Qin Guang's car parked by the side of the road. That was why this happened. Is what you're saying true? One of them was already wavering. Don't believe his nonsense. Don't you know he's a cunning man? Cut the crap, take his head to see Bureau Chief Ouyang. The other person seemed to be more determined and said coldly. Qin Guang's gaze sharpened. Then you'd better think carefully. The person who gave you the credit has already fled, but if you take my life, then you won't have any place to hide in this world. Think about who I am? Am I just the bureau chief of the Guangdong General Headquarters? Or am I? Do you understand? Sai, I didn't think that there would be a day when I would say something like this. My illustrious reputation has been destroyed in an instant. This is the same logic as those second generations asking others if they know who their father is when they are being chased and beaten. Don't even think of scaring us. Since we dared to come, we're naturally not afraid of the Wen family's she-devil. Bureau Chief Ouyang has his own arrangements. The guy who had been very determined earlier seemed to have steeled his heart. Qin Guang was speechless. This guy must have a hole in his head. How did such a stupid person cultivate bone force? Alright, since the two of you are so stubborn, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Qin Guang no longer retreated. He turned and stood his ground, looking at the two people with a cold and domineering face. Do you really think that I don't cultivate inner strength like the rumors say? Ignorant. If I was really that useless, why would Wenwen like me? To tell you the truth, Wenwen's ability is not even 1/10 of the old man's. Yes, that's right. Congratulations, you can finally see the ability of the real big boss. What? The two of them were shocked. They even guessed that Qin Guang was bluffing, but his words were so logical that it made them believe him. But there was no inner strength surging from his body. Could it be that he had reached the stage of returning to his original state? The more they thought about it, the more they felt that it was possible. In addition, Qin Guang looked so confident and domineering at this time, which made them even more alarmed. They clenched the poisonous blades in their hands and tightened their muscles to be on guard. I'll show you the lost technique of Jianghu Buddha's godly dart. Qin Guang slowly raised his hands. What the F***ck, big brother, do you have to name this move so domineering? Also, why did you shout out the name of the move? Take this. Qin Guang didn't waste any more time. He shook his hands at the same time, and 8 darts whistled through the air, pouncing on the two people's heads, hearts, and lower bodies. One dart was deliberately shot to the side, which was called block movement. The two people were shocked by Qin Guang. The darts came too fast and the angle was too tricky. It was extremely difficult to dodge. They were indeed masters of bone strength. At this critical moment, the two people waved their poisonous blades and twisted their bodies. The poisonous blades deflected 2 darts and they dodged 2 darts. They were safe and sound. Strange, why didn't they carry inner strength? Although the strength of these darts is very strong, and ordinary people definitely can't hit them. The speed is also so fast and the angle is also tricky. But without inner strength they can't hurt us. *CK we were tricked. It turned out that Qin Guang had already started running. In the blink of an eye, he was already 200 to 300 meters away from the road into the farmland. This guy was really bluffing. Chase him. This *start is full of tricks. Qin Guang didn't care about what was behind him. He ran as fast as he could, cursing. I've seen too many idiots like you. You have so many lines to say before you kill someone. You're not straightforward at all. I have 10,000 ways to kill you, okay? Kill me with your head. The old man not only had the Qilin arm, but he also had the heavenly leg breaker and Aeolus calf. As he ran he took out his phone and called someone. Coincidentally, he dialed the number he saved when he exchanged numbers with Jiang Yuanchao 2 days ago. Qin Guang? Uncle Jiang? Hurry up and fix my position. Help. These two idiots still don't know that Ouyang Tianxing is in trouble. They're still working for him. They're following me, trying to kill me. These two are probably bone gene cultivators. I'm no match for them. Help. Jiang Yuanchao slammed the table and stood up. Everyone in the meeting room looked at him blankly. This was a high-level meeting. The host of the meeting was Chao Shiming's father. They were discussing the next step to completely annihilate the remnants of the Special Affairs Bureau, how to maintain stability in the current situation, and so on. Little Jiang, what's going on? Old Master Chao asked. Jiang Yuanchao looked down at his phone. Qin Guang had already hung up. He took a deep breath. Qin Guang is being hunted down by the two remnants of the martial artists that Ouyang Tianxing recruited. He's in a critical situation. What? In the huge meeting room, hundreds of people stood up at the same time. Old Master Chao was covered in cold sweat. Quick, save him. Old Master Chao clutched his chest and was about to collapse. He was not sick at first, but he was so scared that he almost had a heart attack. In the farmland, Qin Guang was still running at full speed. His speed was so fast that it made people's hair stand on end. He estimated that with his speed, he could easily win the 100-meter sprint in the Olympics. However, the two people chasing behind him were not to be trifled with. After all, they had inner force and had their own turbocharged power. They were not slow either. Fortunately, these two idiots did not know how to use hidden weapons, nor did they have any interest in modern firearms. Otherwise, these two idiots would shoot at him while running. That would be a real pain in the ass. Stop right there. The people behind shouted as they chased after him. Do you think I'm stupid? Qin Guang retorted sarcastically. Die obediently and I'll leave your corpse intact. The other person followed up and cursed. I'm already dead. What's the difference between an intact corpse and a minced meat? I don't feel anything anyway. At the same time, Qin Guang started to criticize the two of them for their ignorance. You obviously don't have inner force. How can you run so well? This is called talent. Do you want to learn? After learning it, I guarantee that you'll improve by leaps and bounds. Really, don't mess around with Ouyang Tianxing. What benefits did he give you? I'll give you double. Alright, I agree. Please stop for a moment. We'll discuss the details in detail. No. You guys leave first today. We'll discuss it another day. I don't trust you guys now. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. You guys want to fool me? Can you guys train for another 10 years? However, after running for a long time, he realized that something was wrong. The tibialis anterior muscles in his feet and calves were very powerful, but he was too biased. There was a burning pain coming from his thighs. His thighs were about to collapse. The feeling on his calves was even more unique. A part of his muscles was in pain, but the other part did not feel anything. It was as if he had just run a little. This kind of disorderly comfort and pain mixed together was more exciting than horse slaughter. If this continued, he would be done for sooner or later. His thighs would definitely not last until reinforcements arrived. What should he do in this situation? If he could not solve his internal affairs, he would ask Lioli. Lord Lioli, help. Your savior is about to die. He used his hand to squeeze the cup in his bag and screamed at the top of his lungs. Chapter 663. Lioli said, so be it. At most, I'll find someone more obedient next time. Don't be so heartless. Where are you going to find another adorable savior like me? The muscles on his thighs were getting more and more painful. Qin Guang had a vague feeling that this illness was called a thigh muscle strain. There's some truth to it. Yes, that's right. Can we hurry up and think of a solution? It's time to show Master Lioli your elegance. Qin Guang continued to negotiate with her. Please hurry up and give me an idea. These two bastards are going to eat me. Liuli's figure gradually appeared in Qinguang's heart and slowly condensed in his mind. However, her current image seemed a little strange. She was sitting on the ground with her legs crossed like an old monk with her eyes closed, looking as solemn as a Buddha. If it weren't for the fact that she was still naked with only 3 small clouds covering her sensitive areas, Qinguang would have thought that he was looking at a bodhisattva. At this moment, these 2 people, one was running for his life outside, while the other was sitting cross-legged like an old monk in his heart. It was really strange and out of place. Liuli, can you have a little sense of urgency? There are 2 murderers chasing after me, okay? Qinguang continued to howl in his heart as he ran. However, Liuli waved her hand very peacefully. Don't worry, benefactor. Don't panic. Wait for this empress to calculate for you. What have you been watching recently that you shouldn't be watching? Recently, I've been taking some time out of my busy schedule to watch some old TV series about legends and monsters, such as the new Bai Nyangzi legend. I feel that the female lead is quite elegant. What's wrong with learning? Bai Suzhen won't say benefactor, but she won't calculate with her fingers, right? Oh, then I went to find some old TV series about this female lead. I just watched The Legend of Goddess of Mercy yesterday, so today, you call this taking a break from your busy schedule? I think you're just bored out of your mind. You even watched such an unpopular TV series. Aren't you going to act in movies and TV series? This empress has been working so hard to expand my knowledge in order to assist you with all my heart, but you don't even praise me a little. It's really unfair. Perhaps because Liuli had watched too many TV series about Zhao Yaji, her tone became even more gentle. Lord Azure is the best. Alright, I've already praised you. Please save my life. How insincere. Forget it. Seeing that you're so busy, yet you're still able to talk to me so casually, I'm very satisfied with the improvement of your temperament. I'll help you. It's true. If you drag on any longer, I'll really die. Just these 2 small fries behind you, if I were to recover 1/10,000th of my strength, no 1/1000th of it, I would be able to crush them to death with a flip of my hand. Can we not talk about what-ifs? Give me something useful. For the first time, Qinguang felt that chatting with Liuli was such a tiring thing. Alright. Even if I'm in such a weak state, I still have 36 methods that can help you avert danger. Listen to me carefully. Please don't imitate the Goddess of Mercy's voice anymore. Please, merciful Master Luli, save me first. Don't be anxious. Then I'll tell you the 2 most reliable plans. 1. Spend all of your remaining 1.7 million faith points to speed up the Heaven's Line Cup Intermediate Realm. Then please continue to pray. Who knows, it might just be enough to activate the next Heaven's Line Cup Intermediate Realm. Qinguang pinched his fingers and calculated. That's right. It's been almost 20 days since the last Heaven's Line Cup Intermediate Realm. Calculating the time, the next one should be coming soon. Liuli once said that the most basic requirement for the Heaven's Line Cup Intermediate Realm was 6 million. If he really spent 1.7 million faith points, it seemed that there was a chance of activating it. However, it was a little unstable. What if it didn't activate? After all, it was a random entry into the Cup Intermediate Realm within 24 hours. What if he had to wait for the full 24 hours? Or what if he entered but was unable to practice the Cup Intermediate Realm that could help change the current situation? If anything were to happen to them, they would be dead for sure. Then what about the second plan? Qinguang asked. You continue to grit your teeth and keep running. At most, you can hold on for another hour. Your friends will definitely come to save you in time. Then the question is, what is your role in the second plan? Qinguang asked again. Liuli said without hesitation, I'm cheering for you. Come on. Qinguang, so I'll choose the first plan. After waiting for a few minutes, there was still no movement. It seemed that the Heaven's Line Cup Intermediate Realm was about to fail. There was no reason to talk about the Cup Intermediate Realm. It would come if he said it would. If he said it wouldn't come. What else could he do? Does it mean that I'm really finished? Qinguang thought to himself. Liuli definitely wouldn't do such a thing. She must have a way to easily get him out of danger. She just didn't say it on purpose to increase his sense of urgency and let him continuously improve his strength in this life and death crisis. That's right. That must be it. That was how it was written in novels. The old grandpa would create a series of extreme training programs for the protagonist. Every time, the male protagonist would feel the threat of death in a dangerous situation. Using this sense of urgency, the male protagonist would constantly surpass himself and break through his limits. But in fact, when the male protagonist really encountered a crisis that he couldn't escape from, the old grandpa would use all kinds of methods to save the male protagonist's life. Yes, Madame Lioli was the God Emperor. This life-saving method was a piece of cake. Wake up, it's time to take your medicine. I really don't know what to do this time. Think about how you survived last time when you were almost killed by the grenade. Lioli reminded him. Qin Guang immediately recalled. Yes, he was almost killed by the grenade. Luckily, he was smart enough to think of picking up the grenade in time and throwing it into the cup. Later, Lioli almost completely lost her strength in order to open the lid and release the power of the grenade. She really didn't seem to have a good way to deal with the outside world. After a series of careful and rigorous reasoning, as well as an intense negotiation with Lioli, Qin Guang came to the following conclusion. In the face of the current situation, the simplest way for him to deal with it was to pray for the best. Qin Guang, can you stop running? Aren't you tired? The pursuers behind him began to clamor again. Unknowingly, the distance between the two of them had shortened. Qin Guang was also angry. In terms of physical strength, these two were not much stronger than him, but they were bullying him with their inner force. Wait until I learn the painting scroll in my sling bag. Do you think you two weaklings can kill me? Can you stop chasing me? The two of you and I hit it off at first sight. Can't we just talk things over? Why do you have to fight to the death like this? I'm not lying to you. If the Special Affairs Bureau is really done for, Ouyang Tianxing won't be able to escape. He'll die sooner or later. Why do you have to risk your lives for him? I'm indebted to Master Ouyang. If he's really dead, I'll bring your head down to hell to meet him. It'll be the same. No wonder the short man was so determined. It turned out that he owed Ouyang Tianxing a favor. What about the other one? Qin Guang had an idea about the tall man who was not very determined. I'm just getting paid. A salary that can attract martial artists can't be ordinary money, right? I can give you double what Ouyang Tianxing gave you. Think about it, he's just the director of the lousy Special Affairs Bureau. How can he compare to me, the director of the Guangding General Directorate, who's so spoiled that I can have a word with him wherever I go? Also, you know about the One family's hidden treasures. We can get whatever we want from the One family's treasury. The tall man was indeed tempted. Don't believe his nonsense. The short man saw that the situation was not right and roared. Seeing that his plan had failed, Qin Guang could only continue running. This guy's getting slower. He won't be able to last long. The short man clenched his teeth. Although he had the help of his inner force, running at full speed for more than 10 minutes was still quite tiring. He hated himself for not having any talent in Qigong when he was practicing martial arts. Otherwise, the young man would have caught up to him long ago. Do we really have to kill him? Or capture him alive? The tall man was a little hesitant. He's so cunning. If you want to capture him alive, you'll only be throwing your life away. The short man convinced the tall man again. The three of them chased each other in the field. They were having fun. The three of them are really fast. Are they athletes? They're training so hard in the morning. They'll definitely bring glory to the country in the future. Good luck. The farmers who were farming in the field waved at the three of them enthusiastically. After the three of them ran far away, a farmer scratched his head in confusion. What did the man in front of us say to us? Call the police? He was spitting white bubbles as he ran. I didn't hear him clearly. No, it should be loyal to the country. Maybe it's the slogan of a long-distance running team. At least the farmers weren't wrong about one thing. Qin Guang was really foaming at the mouth. Before today, Qin Guang would never have thought that he could run so well. After all, he was a veteran otaku. Even though his talent in sports wasn't bad, he was still able to lie on his bed and play games in his dorm room. He was too lazy to even leave his room. His fit and beautiful body was all thanks to the instantaneous ocean. Asking him to go out and exercise was basically asking for his life. He didn't know where Uncle Zhang's reinforcements were, but he was getting more and more tired. Not to mention the fatigue on his waist, part of his calf muscles and his entire thighs seemed to be on fire. Every time he took a step, he felt like 1,000 needles were pricking his thigh. He wished he could take out a knife and cut off the muscles on his thigh piece by piece. He raised his head silently. Looking at the bright sun that had risen to the middle of the sky in the morning, he gradually lost himself. How he missed the days when he ran and played football with a group of friends in high school. Those were all old youth. No matter how hard and tired he was, he couldn't burn the hot blood of running. How he longed to run like this forever, just like Forrest Gump. I have good news. The world in the cup that you wanted has arrived. Please check it. At this time, Lioli was still in the mood to tease him. Chapter 664. Qin Guang's mind was in a daze. He only knew that he was running forward in a daze. He really wished that God would grant him a pair of perfect legs that would never know fatigue, just like Qilin's arms. He was not in the mood to pay attention to Liuli. Lu Minghua swayed her branches and leaves in the world in the cup and teased in a very wicked way, "That's exactly how we torture him. It's better if he dies of exhaustion." Liuli rolled her eyes at Lu Minghua. "It's easy for you to say. If he really dies of exhaustion, we're finished." "Sister Liuli, why do I feel that you are not nervous at all? What if he really dies?" Lu Minghua asked. Liuli shrugged. "If he really dies, it's fate. Even if we are gods, we have to believe in fate. Isn't this what he always says? Like the big bell in the world of fate?" Lu Minghua asked curiously. Liuli shook her head. "What the bell of fate can control is the fate of mortals, not his fate nor our fate." "Alas." Lu Minghua sighed. "It's a little depressing to think about it. But can he really survive this time? If he is unlucky in this world in the cup, he will have to wait for 24 hours. Liuli looked up at the endless sky above the sea of clouds in the world in the cup. "So, it all depends on fate. It depends on whether this broken cup is willing to protect him." The reinforcements came faster than Qin Guang imagined. Although he seemed to be running blindly, in fact he had been running eastward in the direction of downtown Yanjing. About a few minutes later, 7 or 8 black spots suddenly appeared on the horizon. They were helicopters flying in the sky. If it was the normal Qin Guang, he might be overjoyed, but at this time he almost put all his attention on the extremely simple task of finding the way. He became a machine or perhaps a walking corpse. His movements were stiff and rigid, but he persistently ran forward step by step. Qin Guang was probably the only person in the world who knew what it felt like to run at full speed for more than half an hour. Even the 10,000-meter sprinters in the Olympic Games would not run at full speed at the start of the race. But Qin Guang had to run like this because he didn't want to die. The uneven level of muscles in his body allowed him to do things that were incomprehensible to ordinary people, but it also brought him great pain. If there were no other special circumstances, his 2 legs would probably be amputated after today's run. "His reinforcements are here. They sure are fast." The short man gritted his teeth. "Why don't we retreat? If we wait any longer, we won't be able to escape. What are you afraid of? Although we have just broken through muscle strength not long ago, we are still genuine bone strength martial artists. So what if we are just soldiers? What can they do to us? But they have a lot of people. What if they bring a big guy? Go." "I know you believe Qin Guang's **T and think that Master Ouyang is really in trouble. I won't stop you. Go on your own. I can take care of this myself, but don't blame Master Ouyang for what he will do to you later." The short man was enraged. He sprinted forward again. Although he was also at the end of his rope, he still had more strength than Qin Guang. Jiang Yuanchao sat in the helicopter with the sword-wielding nun from the Thousand Despair sect and the beautiful woman in a flowery dress from the Thousand Flower Valley. Both of them were martial artists at the pinnacle of skin strength. Although they were no match for Wenwen, they were considered top-notch martial artists among the ordinary martial artists. "Oh no. Qin Guang is about to fall. Can Mr. Jiang go any faster?" The sword-wielding nun shouted anxiously. She had excellent eyesight and could see from afar that Qin Guang was not in a good condition. The beautiful woman in a flowery dress also said, "There's an air of death around this kid. He's running with his life on the line." Jiang Yuanchao also used a pair of binoculars to watch Qin Guang stumble forward in the field. Although his posture was awkward and he looked like he was about to fall at any moment, his speed was extremely fast as he moved forward step by step. Before this, Jiang Yuanchao's impression of Qin Guang was only at the level of admiration, but at this moment he finally understood what kind of terrifying potential and strong will this kid's seemingly not overly muscular body actually contained. It had been about 35 minutes since he received his call and confirmed his location, and he had already covered a distance of 16 kilometers on the map. This meant that he had been running at a speed of nearly 13 seconds for 100 meters for 35 minutes, an average speed of 7.69 meters per second. The men's 10,000-meter record for the Rio Olympics was 27 minutes 01 seconds, an average speed of 6.17 meters per second. Qin Guang's distance was longer and his speed was faster. He had broken the Olympic record by 24.64%. He can't go any faster. This is the limit of the helicopter. "Masters, is it true that Qin Guang didn't practice inner force?" Jiang Yuanchao asked. The sword-wielding nun nodded heavily. "Of course not. Based on the bone structure he displayed, even if he only practiced muscle gene, the 2 people who just started bone gene wouldn't be able to push him to this extent. Is Qin Guang's bone structure really that scary? Also, what is bone structure?" Jiang Yuanchao asked curiously. The beautiful woman in a flowery dress thought for a moment. Mr. Jiang, according to the rules in the past, we can't tell you these things. But now we can tell you. The so-called bone structure in the eyes of ordinary people like you refers to a person's physique, or refers to his athletic talent. For us martial artists to practice inner force, we first choose disciples with excellent bone structure. Then, through years of external training, our body will be tempered and our functions will be strengthened. Finally, we will reach the standard of activating inner force. Chen Guang's situation is extremely bizarre. His arms and legs are missing and he can be considered a rare genius. In the eyes of us martial artists, he's someone who has reached the pinnacle of his physique and can trigger his internal energy. Just like dry wood Lai Hua, as long as he is given the seed of inner force, he can become a genius disciple immediately and make great progress. Then why hasn't faction leader Wen taught him martial arts? Jiang Yuanchao asked curiously. Sect Master Wen did pass it down, and it's the Wen clan's strongest martial art, the painting scroll. It's just that the other parts of Chen Guang's body are mediocre. So this matter might sound simple, but it's actually complicated. I see. In other words, Chen Guang is an unorthodox genius? The sword-wielding nun concluded, you can say that. He's a genius who is partial to a particular subject. It seems that every once in a while, a certain part of his body will suddenly become perfect. This is what my disciple told me. If his entire body becomes perfect, it's only a matter of time before he becomes stronger than Sect Master Wen in the future. If Chen Guang knew that these people were still in the mood to discuss his bone structure, he would definitely curse the 3 female juniors in his family. But now he had no time to think about this. Finally, when he passed by a ridge of fields, he accidentally stepped on a banana peel and fell backward. Looking at the sky that was getting brighter and brighter, he lay quietly on the ground. His mind was in a daze as if his soul had been sucked dry and his life was over. Dying like this is such a waste. Sure enough, one must cultivate inner force to live. Our one could slap a bunch of these weaklings to death with a single slap, right? One teacher Zhuo and Annie from the instantaneous see after I die, please don't remarry. Just as he was thinking about this, his soul was really sucked out. What? My darling, the world in a cup. You're finally here. He lay quietly and before he knew it, tears fell from the corners of his eyes. He didn't know if it was because he was touched or because his hormones were out of balance. Chapter 665. When his soul appeared in the cup world, he was still lying down. Gautama Buddha was enlightened under the twin Baoyuo trees, while Chen Guang was lying under the deer flower and turned into a dead dog. He really had no strength at all. Although the fatigue and pain were on the body, his soul seemed to be frozen. Deer flower slightly bent her body, and the huge corolla covered Chen Guang's head like an umbrella. He doesn't have any energy. Liuli also flew out of Cloud City and landed beside Chen Guang. It seems so. This is too miserable. He won't become a retard, right? Although Deerflower always said that she wanted Liuli to kill Chen Guang, when it really came to this, she was worried again. Liuli shook her head indifferently. How is this possible? Do you believe that I can resurrect him with full HP in 1 second? Deerflower shook her head. I don't believe it. Liuli provocatively raised her neck. Don't look at him like this. It's just that the physical pain outside exceeded the limit of his mind. Now that he has entered the cup world, his soul has been separated from his body so he doesn't feel any pain anymore. It's just that he hasn't recovered for a while. I only need to do one thing and he will immediately jump up. Really? How to do it? Liuli blushed for a moment. She was a little hesitant for a moment, but soon she made up her mind, thinking that with her current appearance, sooner or later she would let this guy see all the benefits. She might as well let him have it easy. In a moment he will enter the cup world and I will help him adjust his state in advance. Thinking about it carefully, is this my obligation? Therefore Liuli only did one thing, pretending to casually walk past Chen Guang. Then when she passed by him she accidentally dispersed the clouds covering his waist and thighs for a moment. Automatic Cruise Anti-Exposure System activated. Instinctive Automatic Search Anti-Exposure Point Capture Device activated. Target locked. Focus adjusted. Image fixed. Artificial Intelligence Storage activated. Click. He survived. Resurrected with full HP. In a sense, Liuli really understood Chen Guang very well. See, I told you that he instantly recovered to full health. Azure calmed herself down and pointed at Chen Guang, who was sitting on the ground, and chuckled. Lu Minghua was even more dumbfounded. This guy is terrifyingly honest. Sister Liuli, this move of yours is really brilliant, really brilliant. Hey stinking brat, since you're awake, get up and move a bit. You've done it so hastily today, don't expect to be able to enter the instantaneous sea this time. In this emperor's opinion, it's most likely the beggar version. Qin Guang's body trembled as he recalled the fear of being dominated by the armored world in a cup. No way. The Grand One-Line Sky also has a beggar version? Why can't there be? Qin Guang began to use his brain to think about what the legendary beggar version of the One-Line Sky Cup would look like. But he quickly gave up because with his pitiful understanding of the heavenly Holy Grail and the fact that this unlucky Holy Grail was often unreasonable, he couldn't understand anything at all. Liu Li silently patted Qin Guang's shoulder. Anyway, my condolences. Perseverance is victory. The dawn is right in front of you. Just grit your teeth and you'll be able to get through it. Thank you, Lady Liu Li, for your encouragement. Qin Guang turned around and silently thanked her. Liu Li looked at his affectionate eyes. Then, there's one more thing that I'm afraid I have to tell you. Please tell me. I roughly know what the world in a cup will look like. You'll probably die very miserably. Will I really die? That won't happen. This time, there's a total of 999 chances to resurrect. It should be enough for you, right? Qin Guang was overjoyed at first. Well, not bad. 999 times. But he quickly lost his pride. On second thought, this didn't seem to be good news. There were many chances to resurrect. This meant that the world in a cup would be unprecedentedly exciting. Could it be that he would ascend to the heavens at any moment? Every time he died and resurrected in the world in a cup, it would definitely consume energy. If it wasn't necessary, the Holy Grail wouldn't give him 999 chances to resurrect. It was a beggar version and 999 chances to resurrect. How scary would that be? It was terrifying to think about it. Qin Guang turned around and looked at Liu Li with an ashen face. Lady Liu Li, can I return it? What do you think? Have a safe trip. With a wave of Liu Li's hand, Qin Guang, who was sitting on the ground, was sucked away. It was as if the Monkey King had called out his name and was sucked into the gourd. As Qin Guang flew through the spatial tunnel, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that all his hopes had been dashed. He could only hope that this trip to the world within a cup had something to do with his escape. Otherwise he would truly be unlucky today. Hitting his head on the hard plastic, Qin Guang stood up in a daze and looked around. In short, it was a blessing that he wasn't wearing armor. It seemed that because the cup was lying horizontally, the place where Qin Guang was standing was like a prototype tunnel about 10 meters long and 2 to 3 meters high. Presumably, this tunnel was the entire scope of the beggar version of the world in a line of sky cup. Thank God, the line of sky was still better than the sky of spirit. Stepping on the ground, it felt like a rubber track, but also like the treadmill that Qin Guang had accidentally touched before. The walls of the tunnel were illuminated with soft white lights, looking very high-tech. Suddenly, the entire tunnel suddenly glowed with a white glow and became bright, just like the opening scene in the movie. Qin Guang looked up and vaguely saw the sky through the light curtain formed by the cup wall. A huge pure white feather slowly fell from the sky. The sky was gloomy with heavy black clouds. A spire and a house slowly appeared in front of him. Qin Guang looked around, his eyes following the feather. Finally he lowered his head. The leaf had already flown to his feet through the light curtain formed by the cup wall. You remembered the movie? Yes, that's right, I just thought about the movie Forrest Gump. So this time, the beggar version of the world in a line of sky cup was really going to incarnate as Forrest Gump in Forrest Gump. This is good, it's really used for escaping. But Forrest Gump in the movie ran all over the world, or at least all over the United States. But I'm trapped in the capsule channel. How can I escape? The world in a cup soon gave him the answer. The movie scene began to change. At the same time, the prompt of the heavenly Holy Grail appeared in his ears. It was a very straightforward sentence. Run. Guang. Qin Guang shrugged. Wouldn't it be shameful if I ran just because you asked me to? But the rubber track under his feet, which looked like a conveyor belt, suddenly began to slide backward. Qin Guang understood that it was just a large treadmill. The super-reduced movie scene of Forrest Gump was just to barely improve the user experience. Humph, even if it was a treadmill, I still wouldn't move. What could it do to me? Qin Guang shrugged and then suddenly looked back. But when he saw the cold light behind him, his hair immediately stood on end. It turned out that at the end of the capsule channel, there were dense sharp knives sticking out. At first glance, it looked like a huge hedgehog was stuffed there. The difference was that these sharp knives were sharper. The product of the world in a cup must be the best. Even if it was a fatal trap, it certainly couldn't be taken lightly. Although Qin Guang was an awkward person, His biggest advantage was that he knew how to act according to the circumstances. Seeing that he couldn't win the world in a cup, he decisively ran away. Although his body in the outside world had completely collapsed, after his spirit body entered the world in a cup, it seemed that he had a new body. When he started to run, he received another prompt from the heavenly Holy Grail. Finally, he confirmed the training direction of the world in a cup. Most of the strengthening content was concentrated on the legs. Unlike the Spirit Sky, which only focused on one muscle, the One-Line Sky's training was more comprehensive and detailed, including the whole legs, the overall coordination of the body when running, and so on. But because his feet, ankles, Achilles tendons, calves, tibialis anterior muscles, and so on had already reached the extreme in the special training, no amount of training would have any effect. This One-Line Sky's world in a cup training could improve the other muscles of his legs to a level close to that of the heaven-destroying foot plate and the wind god's calf. After experiencing the One-Line Sky Cup twice, Qin Guang concluded that the One-Line Sky was stronger than the Spirit Sky. It was more comprehensive, more detailed, and could also involve more things on the spiritual level. If he wanted to build a perfect body in all aspects, he needed to go through a total of 40 Spirit Sky special training. So far, he had already completed 3 customized special training. After successfully completing the One-Line Sky Cup this time, he could fill in the remaining 10 muscle groups in his legs, which was equivalent to 10 customized Spirit Sky Cup training. He could also carry out preliminary adjustments and improvements to his upper body, and the effect was slightly stronger than the Qilin Arm world last time. In fact, the Qilin Arm world was much stronger than the ordinary Spirit Sky Cup. After all, it was a reward for completing the World of Life Punishment mission, one of the special worlds, so it was natural that its effect was superior. He ran to his heart's content in the capsule tunnel, and the movie scenes on the light screen on the wall of the cup kept rewinding. He ran through spring, summer, autumn, and winter, ran across the American continent, and then crossed the Bering Strait. He continued to run, never stopping, and he did not know fatigue. He was even more forgiving than Forrest Gump. At least he could sleep, and he could sit on a chair in the park and discuss chocolate with others. For Qin Guang, running was the only philosophy of life for him in the world in a cup. Qin Guang thought of a song. That song was called Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart. Well, what greeted him was not cold eyes or ridicule, but the cold and deadly blade behind him. The speed of the conveyor belt was getting faster and faster, and it gradually surpassed Qin Guang's current limit. The blade behind him was getting closer and closer, and he could even smell the strong smell of metal in his nose. Finally, perhaps after hundreds of thousands of steps, his right foot touched his left foot, and he fell head-on, falling on his face. He lay on the conveyor belt, and in an instant he was sent to the blade, and a shrill scream was heard. There was no need to describe the process in detail. In short, he was resurrected with blood and tears. What could he do? He collected his emotions, rallied himself, and continued to run. With a faster speed and a more stable pace, he continued to challenge and surpass the limits of his body. Previously, the speed of the conveyor belt was 7.71 meters per second. After increasing it to 7.72, he was pierced by thousands of arrows. Now he had to try to maintain the speed above 7.73 so that he would not be pierced by the densely packed blade behind him. Lifting the leg 10,000 times allowed the muscle to form a memory. Lifting the leg 100,000 times allowed the muscle fibers to slowly evolve. It was like unlocking the gene lock of human beings. Lifting the leg 1,000,000 times allowed a person's body function to increase by 1,000th of its limit. Lifting the leg 10 million times allowed a slightly talented person to stand on the stage of the professional arena. Lifting the leg 100 million times was almost the limit of a human's life. But for Qin Guang, this might just be the first step in a long journey of 10,000 miles. Maybe it was 1,000,000,000 times? Or 10 billion times? He had no way to count it. He didn't even want to count the number of resurrections. The super shrunken version of the One-Line Heavenly Cup's training method was extremely simple and violent. It constantly increased the speed of the conveyor belt, and in the end, it even made Qin Guang persist in long-distance running at a speed faster than Bolt's 100-meter run. He couldn't keep up with the speed, and with a sound he slipped and fell. He wanted to slack off and slow down a little. Every desperate struggle seemed to end with thousands of arrows piercing through his heart. Fortunately, Qin Guang had rich experience in going to heaven. Anyway, every time he went to heaven, his eyes would open and close, and he would feel like a piece of pork on the chopping board. Someone would open countless bloody holes on his body like a rag, and he would feel like his body was hollowed out. Then he would endure it. Forget it, he shouldn't think about those things anymore. He quietly lay in the middle of Cloud City, looking at the clouds in the sky, thinking about the rest of his life. Liuli would come over to ask about him from time to time. Are you dead? Are you completely dead? If you're not dead, then get up quickly. It's time to get out of here and continue running. Qin Guang comfortably turned around on the ground and asked, Liuli, why do you think people keep running forward without stopping? If you continue to be crazy here, I'll skin you alive. Liuli realized that she couldn't talk to him nicely. She had to teach him a lesson. As expected, Qin Guang quickly jumped up. Again, before he finished his sentence, he disappeared from the world in the cup again. He suddenly came back to his senses. The sky was still so blue, but the fatigue on his body was inexplicably swept away. The soil behind him emitted waves of warm air, and the sun in the sky was so hot that it made him sleepy. It was really a good time to take an afternoon nap. Not far behind his head, the hurried footsteps were getting closer and closer, accompanied by the smug and sinister sneer of the short man. Standard villain mode, hee. Run? Where do you think you're going? Die. On the helicopter far away, Jiang Yuanchao, the nun with the sword, and the beautiful woman in the flowery dress were just starting to show signs of fear. We're doomed this time. The binoculars in Jiang Yuanchao's hand fell to the ground. Needless to say, it meant that Qin Guang fell to the ground at this critical moment. He's finally at his limit. The sword-wielding nun hesitated to jump down from the helicopter, but she felt that she might not be able to run faster than a plane on the ground, and at this height, even a master of leather strength would most likely fall to his death. The beautiful woman in the flowery dress frowned. If he's really dead, faction leader one might go crazy. Jiang Yuanchao slapped his forehead in pain. What should we do now? Although there's a sniper on the helicopter, the distance is too far, and both parties are moving at high speed. There's really no way to shoot. Just as everyone was in despair and the two pursuers were getting carried away, Qin Guang suddenly jumped up from the ground and then shot forward like an arrow. What? Are you King kidding me? This was said by the nun with the sword. Even a monk was so shocked that she cursed. Oh my god, he's even faster than before. He's on steroids. The beautiful woman in the flowery dress also exclaimed. Jiang Yuanchao hurriedly looked down to find the binoculars. When he looked at Qin Guang again, he didn't look the least bit tired and looked like a wild rabbit playing in the field. This kid, is this the final radiance of the setting sun? The two assassins were also dumbfounded. Who can tell me? What the hell is going on? The short man felt like his outlook on life had collapsed. As an internal force warrior, he was already out of breath from exhaustion, but this guy just lay on the ground for a second and was full of energy again? You must have taken the wrong medicine. Chapter 666. At this moment, Qin Guang finally noticed the approaching helicopters and ran even more energetically. As expected of Uncle Jiang, he was much faster than he had imagined. After coming out of the heavenly Holy Grail, his body had already recovered to its peak state. Describing his legs as moving like the wind would be an understatement. It was a pity that these legs were not born on an antelope. He covered several meters with each step, stepping on soft fields, but his speed in a straight line was not inferior to the athletes in the 100-meter Olympics. The tall and short man chasing behind were already at the end of their tether, and with this they could not catch up. The tall man's heart was beating like a drum. Let's go, I really can't. I can't catch up. The short man clenched his teeth. Go if you want to go. I must kill Qin Guang. Saying this, he took out 3 jade bottles from his pocket and shook them in his palm. The 3 small jade bottles were crushed by him, and 3 sparkling and translucent pills appeared in his palm. The tall man's pupils shrank. Strength pill. God explosion pill. Heaven demon pill. Oh my god, what are you doing? He shouted out 3 names. Among them, the strength pill was a special medicine from Thousand Flower Valley. It could stimulate a martial artist's potential, especially when they were exhausted from fighting with others. It could recover a large amount of inner force in a short period of time. The God Explosion Pill and Heaven Demon Pill were special medicines from Poison Sect. Among them, the God Explosion Pill could stimulate a martial artist's mind. It could stimulate a martial artist's mind when they were overdrawn, temporarily becoming excited. Its effect was similar to a stimulant, but the effect was more violent and direct. The Heaven Demon Pill got its name from the Lost Heaven Demon disintegration technique. It could stimulate one's body's strength crazily, at the cost of overdrawing one's life. It was a standard stimulant effect. There was a rumor among the low-level martial artists. It said that if the Heaven Demon Pill, Strength Pill and God Explosion Pill were to be consumed at the same time, it would be terrifying. The tall man had never thought about this before. He only had the Strength Pill with him. Now he finally saw it with his own eyes. I've wanted to run for a long time, I really don't want to die with you. You bastard. The tall man cursed and took out a bottle from his pocket. In the end, he still swallowed a rejuvenation pill and rushed forward. Of these two people, one was stubborn and crazy, the other was weak and had no opinions of his own. When put together, they really looked like a tall and short monk, a match made in heaven. Good brother. We'll still be brothers in the next life. The short man rushed forward and said with a sigh. The tall guy almost turned around and ran away. Who the hell wants an afterlife? I don't want to die today. Does he mean that he's going to die today? The side effects were so strong. I feel like my whole body is on fire. I have never been so powerful before. Every inch of my body is bursting with great power. I even feel like I am about to break through the shackles of bone force and embark on the cultivation of skin force. The short man ran faster and faster, seemingly closing the distance between him and Qin Guang. On the helicopter, the nun holding the sword and the beautiful woman were both shocked. This guy is on drugs. The beautiful woman covered her mouth and said, "That's right, it's a strong drug." The nun holding the sword frowned. "We have to take a gamble." Jiang Yuanchao asked, "Bet on what?" The sword-wielding nun spoke again, "Mr. Jiang, please lend me your gun." Jiang Yuanchao didn't have time to think and asked the sniper next to him to borrow the gun. "Nun, do you really know how to use this thing?" The nun holding the sword was already sitting at the door with the huge gun resting on her shoulder. The nun holding the sword had become the nun holding the gun. The old nun leaned slightly to the side and pointed the black muzzle in the direction of Qin Guang and the tall and short assassin. Her robe flapped in the wind, but her hand holding the gun was as steady as iron. The nun placed one eye behind the scope and looked at Qin Guang and the tall and short assassin who were running in the field about 1,000 meters away. Hearing Jiang Yuanchao's question, she gave a disdainful and mysterious smile. "As the leader of the Thousand Despair sect, I may not be as good as Qin Guang in terms of darts, but I'm really good at using hidden weapons. Your gun looks complicated, but it's actually just 2 points in one line. When shooting, you have to take into account the speed of the bullet, wind speed, the speed of the helicopter, the speed of Qin Guang and the assassin behind him, gravity, wind resistance and many other factors. That's all." Jiang Yuanchao gasped. "No wonder you're the Thousand Despair sect's nun. You're really good." "That, nun, you didn't open the safety." The gunman next to her couldn't help but ask. The nun blushed. "I just need a little time to get used to it." After a short adjustment, the old nun raised her aura of a master again and aimed the gun at Qin Guang and the tall and short assassin. As Qin Guang ran, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Strange, why did he feel a sense of danger coming from the direction of the helicopter in front of him? "That, nun, it's going to be okay, right?" The beautiful woman suddenly felt uneasy. The nun snorted. "Of course it's going to be okay. I'm aiming at Qin Guang right now, but the moment the bullet hits his position, it'll be the moment the pursuer behind him reaches his position. It's a sure hit." Bang! An explosive sound rang out from the gun as a bullet flew towards Qin Guang along with an ear-piercing sonic boom. Yes, she was aiming at Qin Guang and the bullet was also flying toward Qin Guang. "Ah, what's going on? The bullet's flying speed isn't right." The nun exclaimed. "Nun, didn't you see the description on the side? This is a new special bullet that came out yesterday. The bullet is flying 30% faster than ordinary bullets." The gunman next to her was shocked. "I wanted to remind you earlier, but you looked really confident. I thought you knew what was going on. It's over." In the face of this situation, the beautiful woman next to her could only say such a sentence. In the distance, Qin Guang was running. Perhaps it was because of luck, or perhaps it was because of the blessings of the heavens, but he felt that something was amiss. Everything was amiss and there was a cold sensation coming from his head. Could it be that the idiot on the helicopter wanted to help him shoot the idiot behind him, but the one who fired was also an idiot so he accidentally shot the old man? No, at such a long distance it could only be. This couldn't be called an accident, he would become a Buddha if he got close. He subconsciously lowered his head, and then he suddenly felt a burning sensation on the top of his head. Before he could figure out what was going on, he heard an ear-piercing sonic boom. He raised his hand to touch the top of his head, and there was a straight scar on his scalp from the terrible wind. Looking at his hand, it was already full of blood. God bless, only the scalp was injured but not the bones. When the scar formed on his bald head, it would be a standard postmodern Mohican. I clearly have the heart of an ordinary teenager, but I always have to go down the road of Chinibu under the torment of fate? Forget it, don't worry about it. One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune later, and the hope of escaping from death is a little higher. Suddenly he felt that the sound behind him had lessened. Qin Guang looked back while running and he was happy. The bullet that he had just avoided had hit the thigh of the short man behind him. This old man was burning his life to burn when he suddenly suffered a heavy blow. His right leg was directly blown off from the base of his thigh. The place where his leg was broken was a black hole, as if it had been blown off alive. The power of the bullet just now was evident. Qin Guang gave a thumbs up in silence. So accurate, she must have deliberately flown over my head to hit the guy behind me. How daring of a skilled person. The people on the helicopter also realized that the nun with the sword was a blind cat that found a dead mouse. She actually succeeded in one shot. She's indeed a nun. Jiang Yuanchao praised her. The beautiful woman blushed and she also praised her hypocritically. Sister, you're amazing. Needless to say, the gunners all looked at their colleague, as if they were looking at a goddess. This distance, this moving target, us elite gunners don't even have the courage to aim, alright? Embarrassed by the compliments, the nun with the sword held on and cupped her hands. Thank you for letting me win. I don't deserve it. As she spoke, the helicopter covered the remaining distance of more than 1,000 meters at high speed. In about 10 seconds, it finally flew directly above Qin Guang's head and began to descend. Before the helicopter reached the ground, the nun with the sword and the beautiful woman jumped down together and landed beside Qin Guang when they were still 7 to 8 meters in the air. Qin Sect's disciple greets Chief Qin. Huai of Thousand Flower Valley. Xan Qin and Wu Miaowan's master? Qin Guang quickly cupped his hands and greeted them. Greetings, seniors. You're finally here. I was scared to death. Those behind me are all crazy people. It's too scary. Alright, which expert sniped us just now? That marksmanship is really good. This was Xan Qin's master, who was rumored to hate men. Qin Guang decided to flatter this nun so that she would have a better first impression of him. I'm guessing it must be your doing, nun? To be able to shoot at such a distance and with such accuracy, I can't think of anyone else other than you. Qin Guang cupped his hands again and said sincerely. The sword-bearing nun blushed. She did not know how to respond to Qin Guang's words. Actually, this is all a coincidence. I almost blew your head off. Seeing that the sword-bearing nun was embarrassed, the beautiful woman quickly changed the topic. Chief Qin, you're too polite. Rest well. Leave the rest to us. The two of them did not hesitate. After a simple greeting to Qin Guang, they pounced on the two people behind him who were completely stunned. The short man had even forgotten the pain of his broken leg. Why are there two sect leaders with them? Why is that? The tall man's face was pale. Can we not care about this? What about your leg? What do we do now? The short man shook his head calmly. Actually, I'm not afraid at all. It's a pity that Qin Guang got away. Why are you so calm at a time like this? Why? Because I'm going to die. Before the short man could finish his sentence, his legs gave way and his eyes rolled back into his head. His heartbeat stopped just like that and he didn't even bother to say anything. Even though he only had one broken leg, his blood flow was too great. It was like a spring that could not be stopped. He would not be able to live. Actually, when he discovered that he could not do anything, he did not want to live anymore. The tall man was dumbfounded. He had thought that the other had some great escape plan, but in the end, it was a heaven escape technique. Alright, you win. Your escape technique is unsolvable, but I don't want to learn it. You ran away just like that, leaving me alone to face this cruel world. After a few breaths, a horsetail whisk landed on his shoulder. A sleeve silently wrapped around his neck. Kit, what's your name? Where are you from? Who are you with? Besides Ouyang Tianxing, who else are you friends with in the martial world? What is your sect? What's the name of this dead person? Tell me everything and I'll spare your life. The beautiful woman smiled sweetly. Although she was old, she still retained her charm. However, when her enchanting voice fell into the ears of the tall assassin, it was as terrifying as a death warrant. The swordmaster did not ask too many questions. She frowned and looked at the two of them. After a while she said, they're just normal disciples of the Long Arm faction and Iron Mountain faction. They're no big shots. The beautiful woman lost interest. Sigh, so it turns out they're from a small faction that's even worse than us. Otherwise, why would they end up working for Ouyang Tianxing? Jiang Yuanchao came down from the rope ladder and asked with concern for Qin Guang, Little Qin, are you all right? Why are you running in the same place? Aren't you tired from running? Qin Guang shrugged. Sigh, this is nothing. I'm fine. What haven't I seen before? I'm used to running and I can't stop for a while. Why is Uncle Zhang's face red? It's not my face that's red, it's the blood in your eyes. Jiang Yuanchao shouted. Ambulance. I need an ambulance. Don't try to talk me out of it. Oh my god, I'm disfigured. No, my beautiful T-egg. Jiang Yuanshao suddenly had the urge to strangle him to death when he saw how panicked he was. You're our chief instructor. You're the shame of the Chinese military. Tonight was supposed to be the signing ceremony and press conference for women, but because of Qin Guang's injury in the morning, the press conference was postponed. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue, who were recording a song in the UK, rushed back excitedly. However, when they heard from Jiang Yuanshao that Qin Guang was injured, they rushed to the special nursing home anxiously. Qin Guang lay comfortably in the spacious ward. He moved his body from time to time, feeling the explosive power in his legs and the comfortable feeling in his abdomen. He felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. However, his legs were still shaking violently from time to time. Fortunately, his bed was specially reinforced, or else his legs would have fallen apart. It was even harder to control than when he was listening to the leg-shaking song. In fact, the wound on his head had already stopped bleeding, and he would be fine even if he didn't lie in the hospital. The reason why he pretended to be injured was that he needed to get used to his legs, especially when he was being carried onto the helicopter on a stretcher. He even had to ask someone to fasten his legs with a bag. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control his eeless legs and would run off the helicopter. After lying in the hospital for the whole day, he finally managed to stop the side effects of his legs shaking. Yes, I finally don't have to run anymore. I can stop. He stretched himself, and the door of the ward was suddenly pushed open. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue appeared at the door with pale faces. Qin Guang, are you okay? Jiang Yage was the first to run. Jin Shirue was the second to run with a panicked expression, but she ultimately restrained herself and didn't shout. Qin Guang immediately lay down. His head was tilted to one side, his lips were trembling, his eyes were blank, and his face was expressionless. He looked exactly like a patient with a severe concussion and was only one step away from losing his memory and becoming mentally retarded. Occasionally there was a glimmer of desire in his eyes, but then it disappeared. He kept repeating one sentence. I can't, I need a big, full recovery. Jiang Yuanshao, the nun with a sword, and the beautiful woman in a flowery dress who were following behind panicked. His head was indeed injured by a bullet. His condition has worsened. Jiang Yuanshao touched his bald head, looking very experienced. Chapter 667. What does he mean by, on a large scale? Jiang Yuanshao leaned over to listen to Qin Guang for a long time but still couldn't understand what he was mumbling about. He scratched his head and mumbled to himself. He was considered fashionable among middle-aged people, but he still couldn't figure out the meaning of this new word in his head. In his impression, the term on a large scale was mostly used to describe laws and regulations. This young man was injured to this extent, yet he was still concerned about the country's laws. That's right, he must be considering the control of internal force users in the new situation. This must be the on a large scale he was talking about. What a dutiful and responsible director. At first, the sword-wielding nun and the gorgeous woman were also at a loss. They had no idea what Qin Guang was talking about. However, Qin Guang maintained a blank expression as he repeated it like a jammed recorder. Qin Guang was still mumbling, I can't take it anymore, I need, on a large scale, to be fully reborn. An extremely exciting thought emerged in the minds of the two leaders at the same time. Could this be the mnemonic of the painting manual? The two of them looked at each other and saw endless joy in each other's eyes. The more they thought about it, the more likely it was. When a person is in a state of complete absent-mindedness, what he subconsciously recited must be the most memorable thing in his mind. Both of them knew that one taught Qin Guang the painting manual. In the entire pugilistic world, the painting manual was a peerless skill that countless people coveted. It went without saying how excited and crazy an ordinary person like Qin Guang would be. After thinking about it, if he was really in a state of complete absent-mindedness, then what he recited in a state of unconsciousness was most likely the mnemonic of the painting manual. This was a chance, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The ears of the two leaders started prickling uncontrollably, afraid that they would miss out on every word that Qin Guang recited. They felt guilty for doing something bad in secret, but they really couldn't resist the temptation of the painting manual. Nourishing material. That's right, an outstanding martial artist, be it male or female, must be perfect in terms of yin and yang. What a broad and profound painting scroll, even the first 3 words were so profound. Damn. Does this mean I have to make up for it while lying down? The 2 sect leader-level elders blushed slightly. They didn't expect the painting scroll to be this kind of dual cultivation method. It seemed that the more profound a martial art was, the more importance it placed on the harmony of yin and yang. The first 2 sentences of the scroll were all related to the nature of yin and yang. Enlightenment continued to shine. He didn't understand. These 2 sentences were too profound. But it didn't matter. He would memorize these words, and when he returned he would be able to decipher some of the mysteries. De Qi, this meant that if a martial artist wanted to reach the peak, they had to be intoxicated and immersed in it, right? It was reasonable and convincing. Overflowing blood, overflowing fire. So the painting scroll was a masculine cultivation technique? And it even involves the Tao of blood guidance? It was so unfathomable. No wonder sect leader Wen's moves were so fierce after he cultivated to the great scholar realm. Every move he made had the power to repel heroes. It wasn't without reason. The more the 2 sect leaders listened, the more excited they became. Just the first sentence of the scroll was enough to make them feel emotional. They even vaguely felt that they had gained something. The One Clan's painting scroll really lived up to its name. What's next? You should continue. But after the 2 listened for a while, Qin Guang still mumbled the same few sentences. No matter how many times they listened, there was no difference. The 2 of them couldn't help but feel dejected. If nothing unexpected happened, he was probably really dizzy right now. He only knew how to repeat the first sentence. After all, everyone knew that the first sentence left the deepest impression. It was like the 3-character classic. Everyone knew that the first 2 sentences were good at birth, but most people couldn't remember what the next sentence was. It was the same logic. They didn't know what the others were thinking, but Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage understood immediately. This guy usually looked serious, but after he fainted, his true nature was revealed. The 2 of them blushed and even peeked timidly at Jiang Yuanshao and the 2 sect leaders. Why do the 3 of them look excited too? It can't be. Abbas. You are a monk, please be more dignified. It was reasonable for the auntie in the flowery dress to be a little immodest. After all, he was so handsome. But why are you like this too, Dad, Uncle Jiang? He is hinting to your daughter and her best friend to have a big scene. But what should I do now? Turn a blind eye? It looked like he was seriously injured. It was heartbreaking. Jiang Yage subconsciously reached for Qin Guang's head and gently touched the bandaged head. Sai, it's all my fault. I was overconfident. I should have aimed a little longer before shooting. You can't blame Abbas too much. After all, it was a critical situation. The assassin's strength increased too much after taking the forbidden drug, and Qin Guang was in danger. Although the process was thrilling, Abbas's amazing shot did help Qin Guang out of danger. Jiang Yuanshao sighed and comforted her. I'm ashamed. The nun's face became redder. She hit the target by accident. God bless her. In fact, Qin Guang really wanted to jump out of bed and tell the 3 annoying old light bulbs to stay where they were. Why are they so self-conscious? You guys should have some self-awareness. Speaking of which, Jiang Yage, can you stop touching me? Your action is making me feel embarrassed, okay? They dilly-dallied in the ward for a while. An old expert from the sanatorium came to check on him. Qin Guang, who was pretending to be sick, almost gave himself away. Fortunately, his world-class acting skills saved him again. Sai, Director Chen's illness is very strange and serious. He did a CT scan and an electroencephalogram, and there was nothing unusual. How did he become like this when he was just lying down? I can't say for sure. The expert had traveled extensively and had seen many special illnesses, but he still had a headache. Can he still wake up? Jiang Yuanshao was worried. He stole a glance at Jin Shiyue and felt sorry for his niece. The Yanjing military's reaction was a little slow. If they had arrived 10 minutes earlier, Qin Guang wouldn't have encountered this. Moreover, Qin Guang's identity was extraordinary. Now that the Special Affairs Bureau had just been destroyed, it was time for the Guangdong General Administration to stand up and lead the new situation. But the director, who was the backbone, was seriously injured and had fallen into a coma. If sect leader when asked about it, it would be difficult to explain and affect the cooperation between the 2 parties. The consequences would be dire. The military drill incident made the Wuxia government officials have a deeper understanding of the power of the One family in the martial arts world. Without the support of the One family, a simple matter would become even more complicated. The old expert let out a long sigh. The human brain is the most complicated. After suffering a serious injury, if there are no obvious signs of blood vessels bursting, it's really not something that can be explained in a few words. You see, in Korean dramas, it's not impossible for someone to lose their memory after being hit by a tennis ball while walking. Chief Chen's situation is also very likely. As for whether he can pull through or not, it still depends on his own willpower and luck, right? Is that so? The people in the ward sighed again, full of helplessness. After a while, Jiang Yuanchao and the two leaders still had important matters to attend to, so they finally left with the old expert. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui originally came back to attend the press conference, but now that the press conference was postponed, they had nothing else to do, and each had their own guilty conscience, so they stayed behind. When everyone left, Jin Shirui tentatively said, "Could it be that a large scale can really wake him up?" Jiang Yage's eyes darted around. Based on my understanding of him, it might really be possible. Sister Shirui, think about it. When a man sees a large scale, his blood flow will accelerate. Maybe his blood will rush to his head, and it will open up some suppressed nerves in his brain. Also, didn't the expert just say that whether or not he can pull through depends on his willpower? Jin Shirui's eyes lit up. Solomon, you mean that a large scale can stimulate his willpower? Jiang Yage nodded. That's right. Jin Shirui blushed. But I'm a little embarrassed about it. Jiang Yage blushed. I have no problem with it. In fact, I've sent him so many of them before. Jin Shirui rolled her eyes inwardly, thinking, Solomon, you're really daring. On the surface, her relationship with him was closer, and she was his seemingly fake girlfriend. But in private, the two of them had actually developed to this extent. You guys are moving so fast. I'm a little envious and jealous of you in my heart. But Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui are good sisters who have been together since they were young. If it were someone else, she would be so jealous. Jiang Yage, on the other hand, was embarrassed. She shook Jin Shirui's arm. Sister Shirui, once I make up my mind, I have a little bit of courage. This isn't called a little bit of courage, it's called audacity. Jin Shirui didn't say what she wanted to say. If Chen Guang isn't such a reliable person and you send him a large scale, what if he sells it? It's possible to sell it for millions. But how could she say such a thing? If she had Jiang Yage's courage, she would have done such a thing a long time ago, right? But then again, between the two of them, she was also the one who confessed to Chen Guang first. Thinking about it carefully, she was the one who came later and interfered. She really didn't have the face to teach Jiang Yage a lesson. Seeing the two of them talking, Jin Shirui began to feel disappointed again. Jiang Yage patted her on the shoulder. Sister Shirui, don't be depressed. We agreed on a fair competition. I won't snatch it from you first. Let's try it together today? Jin Shirui shook her head fiercely. No. Then I won't care about you. Look at his silly look now. We're treating a patient and saving a life. Jin Shirui was a little tempted, but when she thought of taking a large-scale photo of him in front of the camera, she was too shy. In the end, she still couldn't muster up the courage. Here, let's do this. Jiang Yage took Chen Guang's phone from his bedside and handed it to Jin Shirui. Sister Shirui, I'll go to the toilet to take a photo. Look at him now, he can't hold the phone. Later I'll take a photo and send it to him. You can put one photo in front of his eyes. As for the large scale, I'm right here. I can take as many as you want. Is that so? Jin Shirui blushed to her ears. Her face was a little hot, but thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be the best arrangement. Jiang Yage didn't give her much time to hesitate. She turned around and went to the ICU's toilet. Jin Shirui shyly sat on Chen Guang's bedside. She opened WeChat and opened Jiang Yage's name. She was so nervous that she couldn't tell north from south. In her entire 20 years of life, this was a terrifying scene that she had never thought of. If a fortune teller told her that in the future she would take the phone and show the man she liked her good sister's hot and fresh photos, Jin Shirui believed that she would tell this matter to her grandfather and send this shameless guy to heaven. That's right, what kind of scale was considered large? Jin Shirui shamelessly flipped through Chen Guang and Jiang Yage's chat history. Unfortunately, she didn't see a single photo. They were all deleted by the kind-hearted young man Chen Guang. Not a single photo was left. All that was left were some shameless text conversations between the two. Dear Guangguang, are you done? Guangguang, does my body look good? Guangguang, do you want to see more? So embarrassing, so embarrassing. Thanks. That's enough. My physique can't keep up. Ever since I added you as a friend, my nutrition has been getting worse day by day. You need the Nutrition Express that I endorse. It's sticky, white, thick, and high in protein. I guarantee that one bottle of it will replenish your blood. I keep feeling that something is wrong. These chat records made Jin Shirui blush. She then thought of what she had chatted with Chen Guang. It was like a polite greeting between strangers. It was impossible for her to say that she wasn't envious. However, she felt that she couldn't be as shameless as Jiang Yage even if she practiced for a lifetime. If such a day really came, it would probably be me lying on the bed obediently and not daring to move, right? Perhaps I wouldn't even have the courage to look at him? Rustling sounds came from the bathroom. It was obvious that Jiang Yage had started to take off her clothes. Jin Shuiwe was shocked. What a big scale. Just taking a picture from the neckline was enough. When we were filming, we didn't even wear suspenders. Qin Guang lay quietly on the hospital bed. His world-class acting skills were brought to the extreme. He still looked like a repeater, but there was no need to mention the sour feeling in his heart. Originally, he only wanted to play with Jiang Yage for fun. He didn't expect that it would unknowingly become so serious. The one taking the picture was Jiang Yage, and Jin Shuiwe was holding the phone in front of him. Just thinking about it made him feel especially emotional. Not good. My power is going to go out of control. If I have a reaction now, won't I be exposed? How can such an unforgivable mistake appear on me, the world-class acting master? Stop. Just as he was letting his imagination run wild, the first picture appeared in front of Jin Shuiwe. She screamed and covered her mouth. This first picture was already so scary. In the WeChat, it was Jiang Yage's white as jade upper body. It was a close-up shot. The lines and small particles were clearly visible. It was tall and straight without any burdens. It was simply a pair of perfect works of art created by the heavens. The bathroom door was opened. Jiang Yage tilted her head out and blinked at Jin Shuiwe. Sister Shuiwe, quickly show him. Jin Shuiwe looked at Jiang Yage with some bewilderment. Isn't the scale too big? Jiang Yage rolled her eyes. This is nothing. It's the first time I send it to him and this is already the scale. Quickly try the effect. Jin Shuiwe sucked in a breath of cold air. Her hands were trembling like a sieve. She nervously opened the big picture and then brought the phone in front of Qin Guang's eyes. Perhaps she was even more nervous than Jiang Yage. Her mind was buzzing as if someone had set off a grenade. Her face was burning like a patient with a fever and her breath was hot. Qin Guang silently looked at the phone in front of him. He originally planned to continue pretending to be at a loss, but after looking at it, he realized that he didn't need to pretend anymore. Big sister, to be honest, you're shaking so much. If I want to see it clearly, I have to synchronize my head with the frequency of your hand to achieve a perfect resonance. Chapter 668. Jin Shuiwe had been paying attention to Qin Guang. It was strange that his eyes were becoming more and more empty and unfocused. Could it be that the big scale was useless? Wait a minute. He was speaking again. His lines were different from before. Qin Guang's voice sounded very soft and weak, but the shape of the first word was completely different from before. Jin Shuiwe was overjoyed. It was indeed effective. Even his words were different. She moved her ear closer. Qin Guang's voice was a little soft and weak. Swaying? Too much, I can't see clearly. Jin Shuiwe was stunned. Only then did she realize that her hands were shaking as if they were fitted with a small electric motor. Not to mention the days Qin Guang couldn't see clearly, even she couldn't see clearly. How awkward. At this moment, Jiang Yage popped her head out again. Sister Shuiwe, is it useful? How could Jin Shuiwe admit that it was her mistake? She could only say with a red face and a trembling voice, it's useful. His words are different. Jiang Yage was overjoyed. If not for the fact that she was naked, she would have jumped out. What did he say again? Swaying, yellow to yellow. Jin Shuiwe lied. If Jiang Yage knew that she didn't even see her painstaking efforts clearly, she would definitely be sad. Jiang Yage chuckled. He actually dares to despise me? That's not right. He wasn't like this in the past. Jin Shuiwe felt guilty and quickly waved her hand. It's fine. He's not in a good state right now. Jiang Yage nodded. That's true. There's no rush. I'll help him recover in a few minutes. With that, she retreated and closed the door, continuing to rummage through the room. This time, Jin Shuiwe gritted her teeth. Since one hand was shaking badly, she used her left hand to pinch her right wrist. Both elbows were on the bed, and she leaned over to place the phone in front of Qin Guang's eyes. Although it was still awkward and nervous, the effect was immediate. Her hand stopped shaking. As Qin Guang's lifeless eyes gradually focused on the screen of Popcorn 5+, he widened his eyes even further. Thank you for making such a conscientious product. The effect was really great. The old man's trust in your company was not in vain. Now that he is so rich, he didn't jump into the fruit phone pit and is still a loyal customer of your 1,000 yuan phone. CEO Wang, you are a conscientious entrepreneur. Let's talk about the endorsement later. I'll give you a 5% discount. As long as you don't copy Xiaomi and write double stems in the advertisement. Everything will be fine. This picture was as perfect as the reflection of the lake. The narrow space in the bathroom made the light from the headlights exceptionally bright. It made the picture clear in all directions and added a different glow to Jiang Ye's perfect skin. This was truly too beautiful to behold. Chen Guang did not have double stems, let alone the female artist with the surname Liu. But at this time his pile driver should be moving. This was a completely different feeling from hiding in his room and playing with his phone while looking at the picture sent by Jiang Ye. It was dusk, and the afterglow of the setting sun shone on Jin Shiyue's back. It made this famous leader of the Jade Lady sect look so holy, but what she was doing now was so strange. The reason for all this was because he had a sudden burst of playfulness and wanted to play a joke on everyone. Now it seemed that the joke was a little too big. Jin Shiyue's attention was mostly on Chen Guang's eyes. Seeing that his eyes finally focused, she was overjoyed. It was really effective. Under Chen Guang's reluctance, Jin Shiyue moved the first picture back to the small picture, but immediately put up the second one. The range of this picture was much smaller than the previous one. Looking at it, it was the scenery of the north. It was a vast expanse of white snow. In the middle of it there was a pink volcano. Although it was just a picture of a still life, it gave people the feeling that the volcano was alive. Alright, it was said so elegantly. In fact, this picture was just a very indecent selfie, but it gave the modern master of selfie photography, Comrade Jiang Ye, a rich artistic feeling. If it wasn't for the fact that he was pretending to be sick, Chen Guang really wanted to give Jiang Ye a thumbs up. Seeing that his eyes were getting brighter and that he was no longer chanting incantations, Jin Shiyue's excitement gradually overwhelmed her shyness. It was really effective, there was hope. Thank the heavens, thank the heavens. Actually, this was what Chen Guang wanted to say. Jiang Ye poked her head out again. Is it effective, Sister Shiyue? Jin Shiyue's face was red. It was unknown whether it was because of excitement or shyness, but she nodded. It's effective, it's effective. Hurry up and send more. Jiang Ye also looked very excited. No problem. The pile driver silently became more and more ferocious. The third picture was taken from the side of the thigh, and it was full of artistic feeling. She even took pictures of this place. When Jin Shiyue looked at it herself, her eyes widened. She was shocked by Jiang Ye's terrifying courage and shamelessness. This was a talent, born with it, and ordinary people couldn't learn it. She asked herself, was she envious of the relationship between Jiang Ye and Chen Guang? Of course she was envious. But could she do it? She couldn't do it in her entire life. It's impossible, I can't do it. As she shook her head, she silently clamped her legs together. She felt that she was probably infected, and doing this kind of thing gradually gave her a strange feeling. Why am I so shameless? At this moment, Chen Guang was feeling anxious in his heart. Big sis, don't just look at me. The real patient is lying here. Don't you know that I'm almost out of breath from your breathing? How terrifying must it be to have this kind of power? I'm so anxious, I really want to see it. Strange, why did I unknowingly stiffen my neck? Chen Guang raised his head slightly, his eyes drifting to the phone, but because the angle was too big and because of the reflection of the setting sun, he really couldn't see it clearly, and he was burning with anxiety. Finally, Jin Shiyue came back to her senses. Jiang Ye was about to take another picture, and she had to quickly give it to Chen Guang. When she raised her head, Chen Guang quickly put his head back on the pillow, and turned into a zombie again. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? I feel like I'm trapped in a cocoon. When can I turn into a butterfly? I want to fly to the sky and see the outside world. Jin Shiyue was shocked. Her condition had worsened again, and it was all her fault. Restore blood, quickly restore blood. The phone was placed in front of him again, and Chen Guang was still quietly looking at it. At this moment he was like a fragile baby, lying on the hospital bed, greedily absorbing the energy that Jiang Ye transmitted through the air. He didn't know if he could restore blood, but the temperature of his blood had risen, and the flow rate had also increased. Sister Shiyue, how is it? Jiang Ye asked again. Jin Shiyue nodded repeatedly. Very good, very good. He even started to talk about philosophy just now, and his ability to organize words has recovered. Then I'm going to start for real, that was just a warm-up exercise. Jiang Ye called out and then shrunk back. Jin Shiyue felt that her outlook on life had received a terrible blow. This was just an appetizer? Do you usually want to overturn the heavens? In fact, Jin Shiyue also overestimated Jiang Ye. Usually, although she was bold, she wasn't so shameless. Sometimes she was still quite bashful, but every time it was the little devil in her heart that rubbed the little angel on the ground, and every time she struggled, she would activate her devil mode. Of course, this was also the responsibility of Qin Guang's connivance and seduction. After all, he wasn't a saint who could control himself. Today's change was completely due to the sense of mission of saving a life, which was better than building a 7-storied pagoda. It added infinite motivation to Jiang Yage and changed from wretched to righteous. This mentality was completely new. After a while, the appetizer was over, and the main course finally appeared. As the saying goes, in the peach blossom valley, in the peach blossom stream, peach blossom butterflies dance on the peach blossom branches. Qin Lang lies drunk on the white bed, and the river tide blows on his face. Looking at this terrible scene, Jin Shiyue's breathing almost stopped. This was too scary. What was wrong with this world? Although Solomon was bold in the past, it had never been like this. My God. How can you shoot like this? Can love really change a person like this? Did it completely open another layer of attributes in her body? But thinking about it carefully, it seemed that she wasn't much better, the pot calling the kettle black. From the moment when she took the initiative to pretend to be Qin Guang's girlfriend, Jin Shiyue knew that she was also no longer the Jin Shiyue of the past. The change happened to both of them at the same time, but they went in different directions, but their goals seemed to be the same. They both wanted to thoroughly obtain Qin Guang's heart. Perhaps the change in her body was more serious. Solomon just opened up her bold and thick-skinned temperament and deepened it, while she showed signs of blackening. Fortunately, now that the two sisters had talked it out, they wouldn't do anything shameful in the future. Jin Shiyue let her imagination run wild while sending the mobile phone to Qin Guang's eyes. Qin Guang was shocked by the picture in front of him. In the mobile phone was Jiang Yage's strongest prehistoric scale, but next to her was Jin Shiyue's face and ears flushed with shame and indignation. She didn't dare to look at his side face. This was his left and right hand. This was Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. In this situation, more than 1 billion people in the country, no, billions of people in the world couldn't even dream of this, right? Yes, that's right, from now on, I am the ultimate winner in life. A tearing sound came from the quilt, and a pair of CK underwear worth 120 yuan came to an end. At this time, the message on the mobile phone came again. Jin Shiyue didn't dare to look at it carefully. She directly opened it and placed it in front of Qin Guang. Strange, there was something wrong with this photo. The hair was slightly thicker than before and it was more fleshy. There was a very playful mole on the side of the thigh, and the background was also wrong. It wasn't a bathroom but a bed. She could see Cherry Maruko's bedsheet next to it. What the hell? Did I send it wrong? Someone else's? I didn't expect you to be like this, Jiang Yage. You are actually a female driver. Why did you go online to find other people's resources to learn posture? Speaking of which, the effect of this photo was quite good. It was a high-definition picture of the ancient Roman infantry, and it was a close-up. Jin Shiyue saw a hint of doubt in Qin Guang's eyes. She was puzzled and she mustered up the courage to turn the mobile phone screen back to take a look. Then she almost fell to the ground. Her breathing was completely chaotic and her chest was beating like a drum. Her heart felt like it was about to jump out of her throat. Crazy, completely crazy. His whole person had gone crazy. This damn girl. When did she secretly take a photo of me? Bastard. That's right, it was yesterday. Yesterday we slept on the bed with this bedsheet. Jin Shiyue covered her face. She was so shy that she couldn't help herself. She was framed. But why am I not really angry but instead secretly happy in my heart? It's over, this time it's all over. I'm going to be dragged into the ditch by this damn girl. At this time Jiang Yage poked her head out and smirked at Jin Shiyue. Sister Shiyue, I said it before. Be fair, be fair. I have it, you also have it. Who wants it? Sister Shiyue, don't quibble. It's true. Your face is full of peach blossoms. Isn't that all because of you? I don't care. Anyway, now you are the same as me. In the future, don't laugh at me for being bold and shameless. You have also been seen by him. Qin Guang, whose brain was in a paste and didn't know what was going on, listened to the conversation between the two. How could he not understand that the photo was of Jin Shiyue? A mouthful of saliva was choked into his trachea. A mouthful of old blood was blocked in his heart. He almost couldn't catch his breath. Cough, cough, cough. In this situation, even the acting skills of the cosmos couldn't hold on. Qin Guang coughed non-stop. It's working. It's working. Jiang Yage's eyes lit up like two headlights. Jin Shiyue still hasn't recovered from the blow just now. She was awakened by Qin Guang. She subconsciously wanted to take the phone away. This is too shameful. At this moment, countless thoughts flashed through Qin Guang's mind. A person's potential is really endless. Many years later, if he could recall what he did today, he would also be proud of his amazing wit. He quickly grabbed Jin Shiryue's hand. His expression instantly changed. His acting skills completely broke out in an instant. His expression was painful and full of expectation. His eyes were like a prisoner who had been locked in a dungeon for decades and saw the sun for the first time in many years. His eyes were crazy and scorching. His nose was heavy and rough. He was a little weak and confused. It was more like he was struggling in a drunken state. His eyes seemed to be nailed to the phone. It was as if taking it away for a second would make him want to die in pain. Don't. Everything was just as the old expert had said. His willpower had exploded. It seemed that he really wanted to use his willpower to overcome the shackles on his head. He wanted to break through the cage bravely and come back to life. Jin Shiryue was moved to tears. Qin Guang was secretly crying. It's not easy. I actually succeeded. I actually deceived the eyes of two acting masters. Brothers' acting skills were not learned in vain. On Jin Shiryue's side, although she was ashamed and resentful, seeing that Qin Guang was finally about to wake up and recover, she thought that Solomon's judgment was right. This could really stimulate his potential. Let him defeat the disease. I have to hold on. I can't let myself and Solomon fail on the verge of success. Qin Guang, come on. Wait for us. We will definitely save you. Although this is really embarrassing and makes me want to cut my own throat, if I can really save you and help you, I don't mind. I will definitely hold on. Jin Shiryue clenched her teeth and held on. She felt that she had never been so brave before. Sister Shiryue, don't take the phone away. I will immediately give the final blow. It's time to show my real skills. Jiang Yage made a solemn decision and then hurriedly retreated back to the bathroom. Jin Shiryue continued to hold the phone and froze in place like a stone, gazing at her husband. She wanted to jump out of the window and end it all, but she comforted herself in her heart. If she succeeded in pursuing him and they really came together in the future, it didn't seem to be something that she couldn't accept, right? Even if he pressed me naked on the bed and then, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I can't think about it, I absolutely can't think about it anymore. Qin Guang returned to his lying position, but his eyes had a touch of natural fanaticism that didn't require acting. This is Jin Shiryue. So reserved and introverted Jin Shiryue's big scale. She put it in front of me to show me. Look at her face, red as the sun. This life of mine is worth it. A suppressed and sharp moan came from the bathroom. Jiang Yage's real skills were still brewing. How terrible would it be? What kind of world-destroying power would it have? Chapter 669. Jin Shiryue's heart was tangled and complicated. She hoped that Jiang Yage would show her real skills as soon as possible so that she could be free. After all, Qin Guang, this bad guy, was staring at her photo. You bastard, don't tell me you want to see every inch of me clearly? Do you want to embarrass me to death? But she didn't know why, but Jin Shiryue was a little reluctant. She hoped that Jiang Yage would be a little slower. She couldn't tell the reason. Maybe even if she knew, she didn't want to admit it. In fact, this was good. Awkward, painful, shy and proud. It turned out that this kind of feeling was so unique. No wonder Solomon had this kind of hobby. When a person's shyness reached the extreme, would it really break through a certain boundary in his heart? Could it be that I'm hiding a little devil like Solomon in my bones? Fortunately, this guy was in a silly state now. Maybe he didn't know that he was looking at my photo, right? Thinking of this, Jin Shiryue's feelings in her heart became more complicated. There was a kind of pleasure of secretly doing bad things, but there was also such a lingering regret. Poor Jin Shiryue, she didn't know that Qin Guang was completely awake at this time and knew everything. She couldn't say whether it was lucky or unlucky. If she knew that Qin Guang knew, maybe she wouldn't have persisted at all. It was also because she didn't know that Qin Guang knew that she had the courage to put her most private side in front of Qin Guang without reservation. It was a mouthful, but it was the truth. On the other hand, Qin Guang quietly watched as if he was intoxicated. Perhaps at this moment he no longer needed any acting skills, since he looked like a natural fool at this moment. Finally, about 5 or 6 minutes later, Jiang Yage's side was finished. A new storm had appeared. What appeared on the mobile phone was a simple dynamic video. This time Jiang Yage had even upgraded her carrier. In order to display her true skills without holding back, Jiang Yage was going all out. Jin Shiryue reluctantly took back her phone and couldn't help but look at the photo on it. She was in a daze for more than 10 seconds before she slowly came back to her senses. Then, with even more reluctance, she shrunk the photo and clicked on the animated video sent by Jiang Yage. The content was really indescribable. When Jean Shuiwe saw it, she almost wanted to throw her phone away and call the police. Jiang Yage didn't move for a long time. She was probably paralyzed in the washroom. Qin Guang was burning with anxiety. Hurry up. This is your best friend who grew up with you. Why are you staring at her in a daze? What else can you do? Hurry up and give it to me. Finally, Jean Shuiwe came back to her senses. She trembled as she handed the phone to Qin Guang. Then, with a shake of her fingers, she clicked on the video. It was the largest in history, unprecedented. It had sound and it could move. How terrifying, how shocking, and how many good comments were there. If it was posted on a certain farming science website, there would definitely be a lot of spam below. The original poster is a good person. A good person lives in peace. 1024. It was impossible for anyone to say that this work had bad intentions. Of course this was impossible. This was Qin Guang's exclusive memory. No one could be envious of it. This was Jiang Yage. She had 80 million Weibo fans. Hundreds of thousands of people would care about her even if she sneezed. She would have millions or even tens of millions of fans flocking to any movie or drama she acted in. Her new album could easily break through millions of sales online. The left hand of her right hand, Jiang Yage. She actually, forget it. Stop showing off. Hurry up and focus. Don't complain. Feel it with your heart. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. He just watched quietly, and the perplexed expression on his face had long disappeared. His eyes were sparkling and filled with the light of wisdom. This was the most basic wisdom of human reproduction, and anyone who understood it would understand it. The video was very short. It was only 10 seconds. But these 10 seconds concentrated the most precious essence of human beings. The strongest pile driver in history seemed to be filled with oil. It began to rumble and tremble, letting out a silent roar. I want the sky to not cover my eyes anymore. I want this quilt and, no. The quilt can't explode. Qin Guang began to cough violently. Jean Shuiwe quickly got up and put the phone in her trouser pocket. She patted his back. Okay. You're finally okay. It's good that you've returned to your senses. All the embarrassment and shame just now disappeared from Jean Shuiwe's mind in an instant. It was as if nothing in this world was more important than Qin Guang returning to normal. Jiang Yage finally got dressed. She rushed out of the bathroom and went to the other side of Qin Guang. She stretched out her hand and gently stroked his chest from the front. Be good. I'll listen to me. It's good that you've returned to your senses. It's good that you've returned to your senses. Qin Guang's feelings at this moment were really indescribable. The pile driver was already in a state of explosion, but he was being coaxed by the two girls as if he was a naughty little brother. He knew everything, but he had to pretend that he had just woken up from his daze. Life might really be a play. Sometimes, it was much more difficult to put on a good show than to act in a movie. Perhaps God still felt that he was not difficult enough and decided to add more fuel to the fire. At this moment, the nurse pushed the door open and saw Qin Guang sitting on the bed. Jean Shuiwe and Jiang Yage patted him on the left and right, one on the front and one on the back. She was anxious. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is a patient. Don't mess around, okay? Really? I'm a fan of both of you. Can you give me your autograph? Don't be angry. When Mr. Qin was first admitted to the hospital, the injury on his head was really scary. I'm just afraid that his condition will worsen. Jean Shuiwe and Jiang Yage were too embarrassed to tell the nurse what they were doing with Qin Guang just now. They blushed and stuttered, not knowing what to do. Fortunately, the nurse quickly took out a pen and paper from her pocket. The two of them calmed down a little when they borrowed the autograph. However, when they heard from the nurse that Qin Guang was seriously injured, they felt even more heartbroken. The nurse pressed Qin Guang down and changed the dressing on his head. She asked, "Mr. Qin, are you feeling better?" Qin Guang smiled faintly, appearing very cultured. Then, he silently bent his knees and used his knees to push the blanket up high to cover his tent of shame. "Thank you, Miss Nurse. I'm much better. My whole spirit has been lifted." Seeing that he really said a clear sentence, Jean Shuiwe and Jiang Yage clenched their hands and looked at him excitedly. Thank God it really worked. Alright, I don't know what happened just now. In a daze it seems like a lot of things happened but I just can't remember them. Qin Guang deliberately made a very painful expression and subconsciously wanted to rub his head. The beautiful nurse slapped his palm. Why are you touching? Aren't you afraid that your wound will split open? You'd better behave yourself. Oh okay. Qin Guang shrank back into the blanket, feeling wronged. Jean Shuiwe and Jiang Yage looked at him from the side. Seeing that he really didn't remember anything, Jiang Yage didn't have any special feelings. To her, this was as common as eating and drinking. However, Jin Shirue felt exceptionally regretful. Alright, where's my phone? Qin Guang turned his head and looked around. Jin Shirue took out her phone shyly. She hadn't had the time to delete the photo just now. However, Qin Guang took the phone anxiously. Why did it go to Shirue's place? Sai, let's take a look at Weibo. We were supposed to be at the press conference, but it was postponed because of me. I'm guessing that the internet is full of people scolding me. Big bearded uncle thinks too highly of me. Am I not just a second male lead? There's no need to postpone the whole press conference just because of me. No, I feel like I'm going to be flamed badly. I have to go online and see what's going on. Seeing that he was talking about business again, Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage were completely sure that he really didn't remember anything. Jiang Yage hurriedly waved her hand and wanted to snatch the phone back. It's fine. Don't look at it. It doesn't matter. People are afraid of being famous as pigs are afraid of being fat. How can you control the flaming words on the internet? Don't look at it. Just do your own thing. Qin Guang hid the phone under the blanket. Actually, he had an ulterior motive. He just didn't want them to delete the old man's real stuff. It's not like today is the first time you've met me. Don't you know how big of a heart I have? What can a mere flaming word do? I myself am the #1 flaming word in the pugilistic world, alright? Actually, his situation was quite awkward and delicate. How could the strongest pile driver in history be stopped just because he said so? It was still standing strong now. However, on the surface he had to act like a proper person. However, he held on. If it wasn't for the fact that the Popcorn 5 Plus almost smashed into the pile driver in the process of hiding the phone, he would have almost fooled himself. It's better if you don't look at Weibo. Really, it's quite boring. The people on the internet are all spouting nonsense. They don't understand you, so they talk nonsense on the internet all day long. However, real works are more useful than anything else. No matter what, this time we will definitely help you come up with a good piece of work. Jin Shirue also sat down and comforted him gently. Seeing how nervous the two of them were, Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. F***CK, it can't be that I'm really being scolded badly, right? This was not good news at all. I came to Beijing for fame and it has to be a good reputation. Otherwise, how can I dig out faith from other people's brains? If everyone hates me, who will worship me? He started to panic, but he refused to admit defeat. He quietly returned the phone to the desktop, took it out, opened Weibo and smiled amiably. Sai, you guys have underestimated me. The two of you have really underestimated me. Now I'll let you guys see my big heart. I've seen many storms and waves. I was scolded badly a few days ago, but didn't I pull through? How can such a small matter be? F***CK, these bastards. The nurse panicked again. I told you not to move, the wound is going to explode. Qin Guang pointed at the phone with a trembling finger. He was extremely angry. You can't blame me for this. These bastards are too King vicious with their words. Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage looked at each other. Sai, I told you not to look at it. What can I do if I can't persuade you? What happened to your big heart? Did I let you eat it? Chapter 670. Speaking of the movie Women, the two of them were quite embarrassed. According to Big Beard Deng's original idea, Qin Guang was indeed the second male lead and was not that important. But during this period of time, Jin Shirue and Jiang Yiling had blindly changed the script and added a lot of scenes for Qin Guang, but the more they changed, the better it was. Jin Shirue originally only had a small cameo, but she really changed nearly 10 minutes of scenes for herself. The first male lead's first love, with a passionate scene. It was originally a taboo for an actor to change the script, but the two women's own film company was also one of the investors of the film, so their attitude could not be ignored. The two of them were also friends with Big Beard Deng. Now, Big Beard Deng attached great importance to the two's opinions. After reading the script, he was shocked and had an explosion of inspiration. He simply cooperated with the scriptwriter and made a series of changes. The changes were even more explosive than Jin Shirue and Jiang Yiling's changes. Qin Guang, the second male lead, became the first male lead. This kind of thing was strange, but it was really not rare in the film and television industry. At least this was a change at the level of the script. It was said that there was once a male artist who finished all his scenes under the contract of the first male lead. He was waiting for the reputation and the box office to double. After waiting for a year for the movie to be released, he found out that he was forced to become the second male lead by the post-production editing. The name of the movie was changed from Escorted to Heaven to Blind Tomb. That was really tragic. In a good circle, The senior became the green leaves of the young fresh meat and was set off as old cured meat. The supposed male lead became a stepping stone for others to step on his head. He was so angry that he vomited blood and did not have a place to reason with. In contrast, the matter of Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage changing the script was not a problem at all. Therefore, after the new version of the script was released, Qin Guang became the first male lead without even knowing it himself. At first, Big Beard Deng was worried that this would cause too much pressure on Qin Guang and did not know if he would be willing to take it. Big Beard was actually quite worried about whether his acting skills could hold up. He had planned to call Qin Guang himself to ask. But the investors, Grace Song and Jin Shirui, patted their chests loudly. Qin Guang's side will handle it, he'll definitely take it. As for his acting, what was there to be afraid of? Aren't you Big Beard Deng here? Big Beard, you have to be confident. You are the Big Beard Deng Xiaojiang who is the best at training actors. Although there were many twists and turns during the filming of Tears Never End for Rivers and Mountains, didn't he perform well in the end? Besides, how many little fresh meats really had acting skills? Even if Qin Guang wasn't good enough, based on his performance in Tears Never End for Rivers and Mountains, not many male idols could catch up to him, right? At most, there would be a few more NGs, the shooting time would be prolonged, and the shooting cost would be raised. It didn't matter, they could afford to lose money. Big Beard Deng was helpless because of these two little empresses. In addition, he also liked the new script, so the matter was quietly settled. It was not until the signing ceremony and press conference was about to be held in the next 2 days that it was announced to create momentum. The momentum was created and the situation was still under control. But today, or perhaps at this time because Qin Guang suddenly couldn't be present, the time of the press conference was suddenly changed and it suddenly exploded. Before, Qin Guang's injury was a state secret. At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Big Beard Deng learned the news and hurriedly announced to the public that the press conference would be postponed. It was too late and too sudden. Now the public opinion completely exploded. He was not a professional actor. No, perhaps he could not even be considered a professional artist. He was just a fresh internet celebrity who had never learned how to perform and had never had more than 30 seconds of screen time. However, he had debuted as the male lead of a major production directed by a famous director like Big Beard Deng. What right did he have? Even if you have connections, you can't mess around like this. Do you know how to act in a movie? Even if you acted well in Tears for a Country's Rivers Will Run Dry before, do you understand how much distance there is between a minor character without any lines and the male lead? Even if you have money to squander, you should at least act in a small budget, or even go to the Chinese Academy of Drama or Beijing Film Academy to further your studies. You're playing so big, normal people's emotions and physiology won't be able to accept it, okay? Do you want us to walk into the cinema standing and crawl out vomiting? This was the first hot topic. It was very controversial and could cause public opinion to rise to the sky in minutes. Not to mention ordinary fans and film critics, even people in the industry couldn't stand it anymore. They felt that Big Beard Deng had gone crazy. Jin Shirui had also gone crazy. In order to support her boyfriend, she really had no bottom line. Needless to say, there were even fans who started spontaneously boycotting Qin Guang and the movie on Weibo. His right-hand man's fans who had just recovered from Jin Shirui's confession were also furious. They felt that this shameful man was going to destroy their idol. For a famous actor to star in a bad movie that was completely destroyed at the box office was definitely a heavy blow to his or her career. For example, some domestic female celebrities were even labeled as the queen of bad movies after appearing in many bad movies. Now, only die-hard fans who didn't know the truth or were numb to the truth would support their movies. Even the Oscar winner Nicolas Cage ruined his or her reputation because he took on bad movies without restraint. Although his right-hand man was considered a veteran actor in the industry, his experience was far from Nicolas Cage's. Even an Oscar-winning actor could get away with it, so his right-hand man wasn't in a good situation either. Not only was Qin Guang a burden to their goddess in life, he even extended his claws to their goddess's career. This was intolerable. Curse this shameless B** star to death. Even if you're an almighty Superman, even if you're very cool in other aspects, acting in movies is completely different from what you did in the past, okay? Don't insult the performing arts. Those who act well are called performing artists. Those who don't have acting skills can barely be a small celebrity. At the very least, they can be called a little fresh meat in the entertainment circle. What are you? You're just an internet celebrity and you've only been famous for a few months. Letting someone like you act in Big Beard Deng's blockbuster and be the male lead, you're insulting the Chinese film industry just because you have money and connections. Insulting all movie fans. insulting all the people in the film industry. It had already been like this on the internet for the past 2 days, but Jin Shirui and Jiang Mian had secretly done it behind Chen Guang's back. This situation was also caused by the two women's overplay. Coupled with the fact that they stood him up at the press conference tonight, the situation had completely changed. The other main producers had already released the news on their Weibo. Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage had also returned to the country early in the morning to help promote the movie. But here came the problem. Although Big Beard Deng's announcement did not explain the reason for the delay, there were no updates on Chen Guang's Weibo for the past 2 days. The matter was self-evident. Brother Almighty was acting cool, Brother Almighty was acting like a big shot. He wasn't coming today. So the agreed time was changed. The entire production crew is waiting for you, and you actually dare to play around? Everyone else had spared no effort to help promote the movie on their social media, but you, the male lead who had appeared out of nowhere, didn't say anything at all? Why are you so arrogant? So the current situation on the internet was like the second power of an explosion. Those vicious words could even make Chen Guang angry. Even with his thick skin, he could not help but roll his eyes. It was too numerous to list. Calm down, calm down. You've just been injured, you can't be so emotional. The nurse was anxious. Chen Guang put his phone in front of her. You can't blame me for this. Look at what these scumbags are saying. The nurse glanced at it. Damn it. What a beast. What? I didn't do it on purpose. As she spoke, it turned out that she could not control the strength of her bandaged hand due to her emotional outburst. Chen Guang grinned. It's fine, it's fine. The pain on my head is not as bad as the bitterness in my heart. He quietly stuffed his phone under the blanket and let the nurse adjust his bandage. Then he lay down silently and yawned. Sigh, he was seriously injured. Half of it was acting and the other half was real. In the past, it did not matter if he was scolded by others because he knew that others were stupid and he could turn the tables and slap them in the face. But this time what these people said made sense. He almost believed it himself. If it wasn't for the fact that he had already mastered the most world-class acting skills in history in the world in a cup, and that his acting skills were still a burden, he probably would have just given up. He was not afraid of those who did not know the ropes, but he was afraid of being scolded by those who knew the ropes. It was really painful. Seeing him like this, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage looked at each other. They wanted to comfort him, but the two women felt a little regretful. At that time, they were hot-headed and only wanted to add scenes for themselves and him, but they did not consider the difficulties it would be for him. But now the situation was difficult to back down. The publicity had already been hyped up on the internet, and the cast list had already been confirmed. It was impossible to retreat now. Otherwise, Chen Guang would only end up with the reputation of being a coward, and the situation would be worse than it was now. There was only one way to turn the tables, and that was if he could really bring out his acting skills at the speed of light under the guidance of Big Beard Deng and conquer everyone with his indisputable performance. But thinking of the encounter in Wujing Film and Television City that afternoon, the two of them really had no confidence in their hearts. Big Beard's most trusted assistant, Yang Shi, had almost collapsed because of him. The whole crew dragged on for 2 or 3 hours before they finally waited for his flash of inspiration to finish shooting a set of 30-second scenes. In the new film, he had become the male lead from a small role. The scenes were shot throughout the whole scene and there were a lot of dialogue lines. When they thought about how to train Chen Guang under that workload, the two women felt despair for Big Beard Deng and Yang Shi. Want to give a perfect performance? Difficult as climbing to the sky. It seemed that this time they really played too big? Why did I become the male lead? The pressure is so great. Chen Guang's eyes were dull as he muttered to himself. His voice was getting lower and lower and he gradually seemed to fall asleep. The two women stared at each other, not knowing how to enlighten him. About a few minutes later, Chen Guang, who was still curled up, snored like thunder as if he was asleep. Chapter 671. You two don't have to worry too much. He might have just woken up and his mental state is not very stable yet. He was also stimulated and overreacted, so he's a little sleepy. In medicine we call this, sigh. Anyway, he's sleepy. But he'll definitely be fine once he wakes up. I've been watching the almighty Superman Chen Guang's Weibo. Although I don't follow him, many of my friends are his fans and repost his Weibo every day. He's a very strong person. Why don't you two rest first? We'll keep an eye on him. There won't be a problem. We're professionals. The nurse comforted them. The two girls helplessly nodded their heads. If they continued to stay here, they had no idea when Chen Guang would wake up. At this moment, Big Beard Deng was probably so anxious that he wanted to explode. It was said that many people in the main production team had some opinions about this, and the male lead that was originally supposed to be the male lead had now become the second lead. They couldn't continue to dawdle here. They had to go and make a statement. But they asked themselves if they really regretted it. They didn't think so. Who was Qin Guang? He was the man that we liked. We invested in the movie and he was willing to act. Why didn't we give him more scenes? How could we face our own hearts? Besides, Big Beard was also very concerned about him. Shouldn't we all take the blame? It can't all be ours, right? As for the box office and reputation, well, don't care about those details. Although a bad movie was a heavy blow, the two of us could still bear it. If we had to regret, we should only regret that things were so rushed. After that, the specialist came in once more and chatted with Qin Guang for a long time. The specialist was shocked by Qin Guang's sudden illness and recovery. He even wanted to send Qin Guang for a CT scan, but he was rejected by Qin Guang. The old man didn't have time to waste with you. You should leave quickly. I'm too busy. When everyone in the ward finally left, Qin Guang, who was pretending to sleep, suddenly opened his eyes. A flash of hatred flashed in his eyes. Evil haters. Just you wait. I'm no longer who I used to be. So what if I'm the male lead? I cheated, okay. The old man was the master of the heavenly holy grail, the possessor of the protagonist's fate. No matter what I do, I have to reach the top in one step. I can't be like other people who have to play small roles for 10 years before getting lines, right? Although it was a bit exaggerated to have Uncle Big Beard as the male lead, and even I found it hard to believe I was the best actor in the world so I could do well, right? Do you have to ridicule me like this? The worse you curse at me today, the more you'll kneel to the world's best actor tomorrow. Alright, I've already made my grand aspiration. The most important thing to do is to be down to earth and do things according to my priorities. First, please allow me to open my phone and open WeChat. After a long time, a rustling sound came from the intensive care unit, and the tissues on the bedside table were looted. His eyes curved into the shape of a crescent moon. No matter what, today was still quite a blissful day. At this moment, the main creative team of women was indeed in an uproar. Many of them had specially taken time out of their time to come to Yanjing for this press conference. Now that the time had been changed, the second male lead, the third male lead, and the second female lead were the most affected. In this day and age, which popular artists' schedule wasn't full every day. Today they would attend a press conference in Yanjing, tomorrow they would go to the sea to record a reality show, and the day after that they would be shooting a TV series in South Korea. The main characters in Deng Xiaojiang's films were all famous in the country, and none of them were below the A-list level. Their daily schedule was calculated as hundreds of thousands of yuan. Today's matters were pushed to tomorrow, and tomorrow's matters had to be pushed back again. Fortunately, the director of the film was Deng Xiaojiang, and he could barely control the situation after such a mess. If it were a new director, he would probably be crying. He had high requirements for Deng Xiaojiang's film, especially the strictest rule of not allowing him to make a scene. The so-called making a scene meant that they had to shoot his film, and at the same time they could not take on other films. According to Deng Xiaojiang's strict requirements, every actor had to bring out their best performance when they were acting in a film. Today you played a bitter role in my film, and tomorrow, you played a careless optimist in someone else's film. Different films required different roles, and this definitely wouldn't work. This would have to be a cameo. To act in my film, you had to put in all your heart and soul to be able to bring out a real good show. Everyone understood this. Because of Deng Xiaojiang's face and reputation, they had been mentally prepared when they had taken on the film. But this time, some of the things that Deng Xiaojiang and Jin Jiang had done might have been a bit too much. For example, the second male lead, Ren Chong, was also a famous box office star in the country. Back then he was the first male lead, but later on he became the second male lead and he tolerated it. Because you are Deng Xiaojiang and because that person is Jin Shiyu's boyfriend, I gave in to you. I admit that you have high standards here, but you insist on pulling a person who has no acting experience to be the first male lead. I admit that. When the time comes, the film might fail. I'm the new best actor, and the second film I'm going to shoot is a lousy film. You have strict requirements for me, but you don't have any requirements for Qin Guang, and for your sake, I admit it. But today I rejected 3 jobs and came here to attend the press conference, and you suddenly told me that it was changed to tomorrow. Then what about the job I promised tomorrow? I really can't take it anymore. Even a clay bodhisattva has a temper, and you guys are really too much. Director Deng, it's really not that I, Ren Chong, want to cause trouble on purpose, but he really went too far. Tell me, look, what do you call this? Let's not talk about senior or not. We agreed on a time, but he said he wouldn't come, and he didn't even give us an explanation. What right does he have to do this? Isn't this too unprofessional? Look, there are more than 10 people sitting here doing nothing just because of him. You can't be like this. Rin Chong stood in front of Big Beard Deng, clapping his hands and complaining. Deng Xiaogang was also quite embarrassed. Little Rin, calm down. His situation is special and I can't explain it in a short time, but he really has a reason. If there's a reason, then say it earlier. At the very least he should have said it so that we can all feel better. We're all working together, so what's with his attitude? He changed his mind at the last minute, and he didn't give us an explanation. We're all gathered here today, so I won't say it and Yueling won't say it either. This isn't fair to Brother Zhou. Let's just stay here and play cards for the rest of the day? Rin Chong pulled the second female lead, Zhao Yueling, and the third male lead, Zhou Ya, off their horses. Zhao Yueling was also a popular artist who debuted a few years ago, and was Rin Chong's junior in the same company. Although she wasn't as popular as Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage in the country, she could still be considered an A-list female star. As for Zhou Ya, he was an old acquaintance. He had worked with Deng Xiaogang on the previous film, Tears Never End, and had even given Qin Guang 80,000 yuan for free. Zhou Ya hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Little Rin, don't get too worked up. It's just filming and everything doesn't go smoothly. It's not easy for Director Deng either. I know you have a program to record tomorrow, and after the press conference tomorrow morning, you can immediately fly to Nanjing. Deng Xiaogang was getting on in years and he felt quite wronged. If he wasn't in the wrong and Rin Chong dared to talk to him like this, he would have slammed the table and flown into a rage. Sigh, Qin Guang, you little rascal, you've caused me trouble. Zhao Yueling rolled her eyes. Brother Zhou, it's easy for you to say. Brother Ren's program starts at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and the earliest flight to Nanjing will arrive at 1 p.m. There's only half an hour and you can't even catch your breath. Isn't this tormenting? I'm even worse off. I was supposed to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Baoda Jewelry at Denghai tomorrow morning, but now it's all over. It's not that Brother Ren and I are being petty, but Director Deng, you're too indulgent with Chen Guang. I really don't understand it. If he were an actor from an acting school it would be fine, but we're just afraid that he'll ruin your reputation, Director Deng. This time, Zhou Ya had no way of smoothing things over. As someone who had worked with Chen Guang once, even if he had lost 80,000 yuan, Zhou Ya still had a lot of say in Chen Guang's acting skills. Back at Wujing Film City, a large group of people had spent the entire afternoon there. Now that Chen Guang's scenes were so heavy, Zhou Ya couldn't help but feel flustered in his heart. In the new script, he had quite a few scenes with Chen Guang, and he was clearly the one who should be complaining the most. Deng Xiaogang also felt a little regretful that things had turned out this way. Why was I so thoughtless at that time? Jiang Yage's revised script was pretty good. Jin Shirue wanted Qin Guang to have a higher starting point for his debut. She also felt that Qin Guang was a promising talent, but it was a little too much to push him to be the male lead. Why did I agree to it at that time? Why did I change the script in that direction? I'm not possessed, am I? But now that he was changing it back, Deng Xiaogang really couldn't bear to part with such a good script. If he couldn't make a movie that he was most satisfied with, he would rather not do it. Actually, the best choice now was to change the actor and get a veteran actor to play the male lead. But this was also impossible. One of the investors' right-hand man would never agree to it. The two passionate scenes that had a great impact on the movie's plot could not be filmed, but the premise of the new script was built on these two rare passionate scenes. When the movie was finished, the overall quality of the movie aside, just the two rare scenes of Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage rolling in the sheets, even if it was not completely exposed, would definitely be a gimmick that could pull in the box office. It would also be a strong boost to the plot. Deng Xiaogang would rather be beaten to death than to give up on it. Serving the second or third generation superstars in a movie was so troublesome. He had to pay attention to it and he had to pay attention to it. But only Deng Xiaogang, the executive director cum producer, understood these things, but he couldn't say it out loud. Although everyone could guess it, Big Beard couldn't tell them clearly that he didn't have the final say in the movie. It was the two little girls who had the final say. It would be embarrassing, and it would also affect his prestige in the production team in the circle. Other than that, I know the reason for changing the time of today's press conference, but I can't say it. Now, the news of their fall was directly informed by the Secretariat of the Ministry of National Defense, and they even repeatedly said that it was top secret. You don't know how painful it was for me at that time. Other than that, the press conference could not be held today not only because of Qin Guang, but also because the female lead, Jiang Yage, had gone to the hospital to visit someone. Since the male lead and the female lead could not come, the press conference could not be held. Unfortunately, these things could not be said. My great-nephew, where did you go to reach the heavens? Poor Big Beard Deng, he didn't even know that Qin Guang was now a deputy minister. If he knew that his male lead was a deputy minister, he was afraid that he would faint. In a sense, Big Beard Deng could be considered to be unprecedented. He should be the first director in history to rope in such a high-ranking official to act in a movie. The name of this department was even called the General Administration of Guangdong, which was especially terrifying. The conference room was noisy, and Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage finally arrived. The fire of the public finally found a place to vent. Although it was not good to say anything harsh to these two people, they couldn't help complaining. Sister Jean, you should control your man. How can he be like this? Sister Song, speak for everyone. Is it right for Qin Guang? Sister Song, what do you think people are saying on the internet? Why don't we change the male lead? He can't act, he really can't. How about we find another script for him next time? Shoot something more youthful and artistic. Although you two are young, you are famous actors in our circle. Qin Guang is, alas, little fresh meat. Qin Guang is at most a little fresh meat. I'm not afraid of offending people. It's a compliment to say that he is a little fresh meat. Other little fresh meat have shot music videos. What has he done? If Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage were ordinary artists, people would naturally not complain to them. However, there's no need to mention the two's status in the industry. They're also movie investors, and everyone knows that Qin Guang was pushed up by the two of them. So if anyone wanted to pull Qin Guang down, they could only start with the two of them. In the past 2 days, the comments on the internet had been getting worse and worse. People were afraid that the film would be ruined, so they all came up to say one after another in the name of the good of the film. Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage were usually influential figures wherever they went. But this time, like Deng Xiaojiang, they knew that they were in the wrong. In the face of the voices of the public, they could only brace themselves to bear it. Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, and Lu Xiaoyang, the three middle-level leaders of Qingguang Agency, hid in the corner of the conference room and shivered. In fact, the three of them had been baptized by the storm before. It was true that not many people cursed in front of them, but they couldn't stand the ridicule that came one after another. Qin Guang's appearance was too sudden. From an internet celebrity who relied on hype, he suddenly became the male lead of an A-list blockbuster. Not to mention whether it would make people jealous, it was simply a joke in the eyes of others. They didn't have a chance to complain about Qin Guang in front of him, so they complained in front of his employees. Until now, the three of them felt that their faces were full of the smell of other people's saliva. This group of B** stars. Fang Tianyu gritted his teeth. This is 2F* king bullying. How can anyone say that about Director Qin? That guy just said that Director Qin would be thankful if he could act as a poker face. Yu Hong also kept a straight face. Some people said that Director Qin can't even remember his lines. Actually, I think what they said is quite reasonable. Lu Xiaoyang was different from the other two. As a former senior entertainment reporter and pioneer paparazzi, he knew more about the tricks of the entertainment industry. Actually, I don't understand why Director Deng would let Director Qin play the male lead. This is a bit too much. Right now, our company's task is to package Director Qin. If I were to come up with a packaging plan, we should let Director Qin take one step at a time and start from a supporting role. It's not that he's never qualified to play the lead role, but when it comes to acting, he really hasn't shown any convincing results. Lu Xiaoyang analyzed logically. Since ancient times, there has been a master in every profession. Don't think that acting is easy. Acting is not something that can be done in a day. Our Director Qin doesn't look like a genius who was born with knowledge. After all, he has a stain on his record. Stain? Yu Hong didn't understand. I went to watch Country previously. Didn't he act quite well? Lu Xiaoyang rolled his eyes. Old you don't know this. That set of 30 seconds of scenes, there were dozens of NGs. They filmed for an entire afternoon. I have a friend who was on the set as an extra. He said that he almost died from the heat because he was wearing armor on such a hot day. This is what he said. Ordinary actors' acting skills are divided into soy sauce level, beginner level, amateur level, professional level, master level, and best actor level. What level is our Director Qin at? Fang Tianyu asked in a low voice. Lu Xiaoyang took a deep breath. In my friend's words, he is a disaster level, the kind that can spoil an entire pot of soup. A disaster level male lead? Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu looked at Deng Xiaojiang sympathetically. They didn't know why, but even as Qin Guang's employees, they started to sympathize with Deng Xiaojiang, the famous director. Deng Xiaojiang was really stubborn to use a useless male lead for the entire process. However, this was definitely not good news for Qin Guang's agency. Right now, Qin Guang's image and reputation on the internet might be controversial, but he has never messed up anything that he's participated in. He was a world champion in darts. He was the undisputed king of the underground racing world when it came to car racing. He was a godlike existence. He was so good at playing Dota that he could take on the world alone. He had never messed up when it came to playing the piano. If director Chen's first movie ended in a bad movie, it would be a devastating blow to his personal image and reputation. Qin Guang's agency might even suffer a heavy blow. How about we persuade director Qin? Fang Tianyu asked tentatively. Yu Hong nodded. Buttface, you can persuade him. He will listen to you. Lu Xiaoyang shook his head. I am suffering from a disease that will kill me if I make a phone call. Save it. No one can change his mind once he has made a decision. Think about what happened to Bajou. Yu Hong, on the other hand, saw through it. What we can do is to think of a way to help him settle this matter. Lu Xiaoyang nodded. Now that things have come to this, it looks like I have to show my true abilities. I'll turn black into white. When the movie comes out, I will try my best to find a bright spot for him. Even if he messes up, I will exaggerate it. I don't know how many people will be fooled by me. In any case, when the time comes, we will be able to cover the sky and cover the earth with spear inscriptions. We will definitely be able to fool some people. We need a navy in the Pacific Ocean. Fang Tianyu nodded. The three of them sighed at the same time. Working for Director Qin was really tiring. It was a night of arguments and no words. While it was noisy outside, Qin Guang enjoyed a rare moment of peace. However, he ran into some trouble the next morning. He wanted to leave the hospital, but the sanatorium wouldn't let him. Fortunately, he was very good at running away now, so he rushed out of the dark and ran away as fast as he could. The old expert and a group of people chased after him. Director Qin, come back. Come back. Qin Guang waved his hand from afar. No. I have something important to do. The people of my country need me. When Qin Guang was far away, the old expert's assistant asked, Actually, I think Director Qin is recovering quite well. The old expert shook his head. Actually, my son is a fan of Deng Xiaojiang. Ha! I should have tied him up, the old expert said. It was all thanks to Xin Yuliang that the online taxi booking service was getting better and better. It didn't even take 20 minutes for Qin Guang to leave the nursing home for the Shidun Hotel, where the press conference was held. When he got on the car, the driver kept looking at his head, which made him feel uncomfortable. The bandage that he had wrapped around his head had been shaken off due to his strenuous movements. It looked a little abnormal. Qin Guang didn't want to talk to this guy at first, but halfway through the car, he started to talk in a foreign language. That's right, it was Arabic. Qin Guang touched his head silently. Dude, I only wrapped my head with a bandage, but I'm not Arabic. Thank you. He couldn't help but reply in Arabic, and this time the driver couldn't stop himself from driving. This was how mystical Beijing was. Even taxi drivers could comment on the country's affairs, as if they were pillars of the country as long as they sat in the leather chair. Nowadays, taxi drivers had also kept up with the times. This man was actually a graduate from the Arabic department of the Beijing Foreign Language School, and he had really treated Qin Guang as an international friend and started to chat with him. Qin Guang felt that this guy must be using him to practice his spoken English. I've seen your teacher before. It's that half-baked Professor Liu. His skills are bad and his character is bad. If you learn from him, it's no wonder you're doing so badly after you graduated. Forget it. Since I have nothing to do anyway, I'll just chat with you. I'll just treat it as helping my peers. They were chatting happily along the way, but Qin Guang heard this sentence when he was about to get off the car. Muhammad, do you know? Recently, there's a very funny person in our country. He looks a little like you. He has never acted before, but he actually wants to act in a movie. Do you think there's something wrong with the rich nowadays? If they burn their money, they can at least smell it. Letting someone who doesn't know how to act in a movie to act in a blockbuster, isn't that throwing hundreds of millions of investment into the water? Rich people nowadays, TSK. Muhammad said. Serves you right for having to use the internet for your entire life. I was going to introduce you to Brother Bai Hua, but now you should just stay where you are. Chapter 672. Today's press conference was scheduled to start at 10 a.m. and end at around 11 a.m., but the second male lead, Ren Chong, and the second female lead, Zhao Yueling, arrived at 9 a.m. Of course they didn't come so early because they were really diligent. There was another person with them, the general manager of Qianda Film and Television, Kong Qing. Of course they had their own reasons for bringing Kong Qing along. There were 2 investors, 4 women. Jin Jiang and Jin Huan's Huan Entertainment accounted for 30%, and Qianda Film and Television, a subsidiary of Qianda Entertainment, accounted for 70%. Yesterday Ren Chong couldn't get Big Beard Deng to get rid of Chen Guang, so he made up his mind. After disbanding at night, he found his old friend Kong Qing and discussed it with him. In the end, both sides hit it off. Kong Qing was a little uncertain about this matter and wanted to get rid of Chen Guang for a long time, but he was afraid of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. Big Beard had always been tough when it came to making movies, and Big Beard also had some shares in Qianda Film and Television, so Kong Qing didn't bring it up. After listening to Ren Chong's analysis last night, he really felt that he couldn't let it go on like this. Otherwise, the film would really be a mess and the huge investment would go down the drain. In the end, the one who would suffer would be him, the general manager of Qianda Film and Television. At the very least, there was no need to give Chen Guang such an important role. He could either change his role and let Ren Chong play the male lead, or change the script back to the previous version with Ren Chong still the male lead. It was a big production with hundreds of millions of investment, and it was too childish to let an inexperienced person play the male lead. Since Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were so tough that Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling didn't have the final say, then as a major investor with 70% of the investment, I should have the final say, right? Even if I might offend Big Beard and his right-hand man, there are no eternal enemies in the business world. Big Beard, don't be angry. You are also a shareholder of Qianda Films. If we can get our money back, you will also have a part in it. Just don't mess around with others. Qianda Films and Qianda Cinemas, the largest cinema chain in the country, were both under Qianda Entertainment. In the domestic film industry, their words carried enormous weight, and they weren't something that could be casually stepped on. If you guys want to promote Chen Guang, we won't object. But this time, let's discuss it carefully and come up with a compromise plan. At most, we'll go back and put together a slightly smaller film. Our cinema chain will push it hard. Today, if you guys take a step back, we'll take 2 steps back later. Everyone's face will be fine, and the friendship between friends can still be preserved. Kong Qing decided to personally talk to Big Beard Deng and his right-hand man before the final list of the leading actors was announced at the press conference. Otherwise, he would have to wait for the press conference to start and settle the matter before talking about it. Firstly, it would be a joke, and secondly, it would have a negative impact on the movie's promotion. So, of course, the leading actor today was not Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling but Kong Qing. Deng Xiaojiang didn't expect that Kong Qing would mention it. As a person who also didn't have much confidence, he actually felt a little guilty in the face of Kong Qing's doubts. Old Deng, we've known each other for so many years. You know me very well and I know you very well. When have I ever made things difficult for you? I'm really doing this for everyone's sake. Why don't you discuss it with the other 2 and Chen Guang again? We don't have to make things so big at once. We have to be responsible for the shareholders. Kong Qing pulled Big Beard to the side and said earnestly, let's talk about friendship first, then business. Big Beard sighed and wanted to tell him his difficulties. Old Kong, you know me. My principle has always been to make high-quality films. That's it. Since you want to make high-quality films, you can't let a hothead play the leading actor, right? Kong Qing quickly followed. Big Beard was also a little shaken. I have thought about this problem, but Jiang Yage said that if it wasn't for Chen Guang, we wouldn't even get to hold hands, let alone the passionate scene in the new script. Then, the new script that I worked so hard to write would be completely ruined. Jin Shiyue is in the same situation. To put it bluntly, I think this script is good. At the same time, it's tailor-made for Jiang Yage, Jin Shiyue, and Chen Guang. If it wasn't for their friendship, no one else would be able to play the role. Try to discuss it with Jiang Yage? Isn't it just a passionate scene? It's such a big deal. Who in the industry is so particular about it? Kong Qing said recklessly. Deng Xiaojiang rolled his eyes. If you're so capable, why don't you talk to the people up there? As he spoke, he pointed to the sky. Kong Qing rolled his eyes. I haven't lived long enough. Then what the hell are you talking about? In any case, I don't agree to let Chen Guang be the leading actor. Kong Qing was stubborn. I don't agree to change the script or the role. Otherwise, I won't be able to hand over the job. I won't be able to answer to the shareholders. You guys have it easy. You can just go on with the next one after messing it up. Those 2 ladies don't lack money. What am I going to do then? Seeing him like this, Big Beard Deng could only stare at him. If he really pushed Kong Qing into a corner, he might withdraw his investment. That would be terrible. But if he patted his chest and said, "Don't worry. Chen Guang will definitely be able to act well. He will definitely be able to bring out the state of success in every scene in Country and Throne." Big Beard could not do it. He also felt that it was too sci-fi. Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling saw that the two of them were almost done chatting, so they came over. "Director Deng, really, everyone is doing this for the good of the film. How about the old version of the script? Isn't it still written well?" Ren Chong became the peacemaker. If the script was changed back, he would naturally become the leading actor again. Zhao Yueling chimed in from the side. "Director Deng, we took on this film because of your reputation. Think twice." "Think? Think what think?" "Not changing, absolutely not changing." At this moment, Jiang Yage suddenly came out from the side. She had deliberately arrived a little earlier today, and sure enough, she saw the show. It was really infuriating. "Even if my Guang Guang had no acting skills, I would still push him up. You guys are throwing a tantrum with me and making me angry. If I don't show my power, you guys will really think that I'm easy to bully." Jean Shirue tugged at her. "Yage, don't be like this. Don't be so rash. Let's talk it over." "Sister Shirue, how can we talk it over? It's such a good script. As long as one isn't blind, they would know that the new version of the script is much better than the old version. There's only one purpose in discussing it with them, and that is to replace Chen Guang. Then what's the point of acting? We're not acting anymore." Jiang Yage stomped her foot again, her face as dark as water. Don't look at her usual mischievous appearance in front of Chen Guang. In front of others, she really had such a rude and unreasonable temperament. With her background, she had the guts to throw a tantrum in front of anyone in the entertainment industry. "At worst, we'll just break up. You guys wait, I'll slowly settle it for you later." She almost said this sentence. Kong Qing didn't expect Jiang Yage's reaction to be so intense. For a moment, he was a little embarrassed. "But, Miss Jiang, I'm not targeting Chen Guang and the two of you. It's really because our Chinda also invested in this film." He was hinting to Jiang Yage not to be too tough. "They took up 70% of the investment. At worst, you guys can just withdraw your investment. Sister Shirue and I will take it all. It's not like we can't take it. What's the big deal?" Kong Qing couldn't wait to smash his phone and leave. "I'm talking business with you, but you don't look like you want to talk business at all. Why are you so unreasonable? Can't you talk properly? You find your Jiang Yage. I can't afford to offend you." Kong Qing finally understood Big Beard Deng's helplessness. She was really a great aunt. She was like an empress dowager when served. "You." A sigh. Kong Qing bitterly looked at Jean Shirue. "You should control your good sister. We don't do business like this." Jean Shirue pulled Jiang Yage again. If she didn't stop her, she would really slam the table and leave today. The scene was in a deadlock. No one could do anything. Obviously, neither side intended to retreat. Big Beard Deng rolled his eyes and waved his hand to call Yang Shi over. "How about this? As for Chen Guang's acting skills, I, as a small assistant, have a lot of say. Back then he was the one who taught Chen Guang for a day. That's why there was that 30-second scene in Country and Rivers. How about listening to his judgment?" Yang Shi pitifully called Big Beard Deng into a minefield. He first secretly looked at Big Beard, who was winking at him. Then he braced himself and said, "This Mr. Chen, although he has never been professionally trained, his professionalism is definitely not a problem. At that time he was only asked to act as an extra, but he learned several teaching materials by himself. That afternoon, although there were some bumps in the early stages of filming, after he found the feeling, the effect was really good. So, Xiaoyang, you want to say that as long as you teach Chen Guang well and give him more time, he will definitely be able to act well? Xiaoyang, you're also a professional. Do you think this is really possible? Can an extra without lines really be compared to the male lead? This time, are you also the one who brought Chen Guang in the film? Do you dare to be like the generals in ancient times and make a military pledge? If you can't act well, you will die as an apology?" Facing a small character like Yang Shi, Kong Qing did not have any scruples with his words. His words were extremely unpleasant to hear. Yang Shi's face turned pale. He looked at Big Beard for help. "Director Deng, you are the one who called me here. Don't sell me out." Big Beard coughed twice and looked away. "Hurry up and help this old man take the blame. It's so tiring for me to take the blame alone." Yang Shi was about to cry. I followed Director Deng's gaze and spoke up for Brother Chen Guang. "You are really selling out your teammate." "That's enough, Director Kong. Don't make things difficult for Yang Shi's assistant. If you have any complaints, come to me." Come, let me sum up your words. If we insist on making Chen Guang the male lead, will your Qianda withdraw its investment? Jiang Yage was already tired of this kind of wrangling. She said coldly with a sullen face. Sister Shirue, don't poke my waist. It doesn't matter who says it. You can call me a shrew or say that I am unreasonable in your heart. Jiang Yage will take it all. Jiang Yage twisted her body and squeezed Jin Shirue's hand to the side. Wow, this is going to be a mess. Kong Qing's eyelids twitched. Withdrawing investment is a small matter. Making money is a small matter. It seems that this time they are really going to offend Jiang Yage to death. If he had known that this lady was so domineering, he would never have come here. He should have just moved a bigger figure over. He couldn't handle it. He hurriedly looked at Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling. You two were the ones who fanned the flames in my heart. Now that I am going to be skinned alive, you two are just going to watch? Don't look at others. Director Kong, just give me a definite answer. I don't blame you. This time we also went overboard. I know it in my heart. So, I don't bear a grudge against you. We can cooperate again in the future. Jiang Yage said again. Kong Qing really had no choice. He coughed twice. After all, the original intention was the original version of the script. Chen Guang's position is not that important. With such a big change, it is necessary to discuss the cooperation method again. Miss Jiang, I am not targeting you. Please pity me. I am just a poor laborer. Since I can't take it head-on, I can't afford to offend you. I admit defeat. I will pretend to be pitiful. I will cry in front of you. Seeing Kong Qing like this, Jiang Yage was actually quite embarrassed. But there was no other way. For the sake of my family's light, I have to suffer. You just have to bear with it. Weren't you quite capable when you slapped Yang Shi's face just now? Well, in the contract we signed, I am also the male lead. I feel that if we really make such a big change, I personally may not be able to accept it. At this moment, Ren Chong finally mustered up the courage to stand up against Kong Qing. Today's situation was instigated by him last night. If he betrayed Kong Qing just like that, he would be hated by Kong Qing again. Seeing that senior brother had expressed his stance, Zhao Yueling braced herself and said, I have the same opinion as Brother Ren. After all, the changes to the film are too big. Now the other two main actors stood up again and pretended to stop acting. Kong Qing was no longer alone. That's right. Actually, everyone is doing this for the sake of the film. Why don't Miss Jiang and Miss Jean reconsider? Next time we, Qianda, will definitely take the lead in making a tailor-made film for Mr. Chen, okay? He is a university student. We will make a film that best meets his standards and let him act as himself. I guarantee that it will be better than Love Under the Hawthorn Tree. Okay. We will find Lao Mao to direct. He and director Deng each have their own strengths. The effect of Mr. Chen's acting is much better than women. We are all people in the industry. Think about Mr. Chen's situation. If the film is ruined and his reputation is ruined, it may not necessarily be a good thing for him. As expected of the wily old fox Kong Qing, he could still say such reasonable words in this situation. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue were almost convinced by him. In fact, it was not that the two women had not thought of this problem. It was just that they had finally pushed things to this stage and they were a little unwilling to back out at the last minute. In addition, Chen Guang did not clearly express his intention to back out, so the two of them wanted to take advantage of the situation to get things done. Yage, why don't we ask him and discuss it with him? Jin Shirue wavered. Jiang Yage looked back at Jin Shirue helplessly and whispered in her ear, Sister Shirue, you don't want the passionate scene? Jin Shirue blushed and said to the others, I still think we can give it a try. Everyone rolled their eyes. Just what were the two of you whispering about? Lady Jean from the Jean family, your willpower was too weak. Ren Chong did not want to admit that he was so jealous of Chen Guang's life that he almost went crazy. What right does that stinking brat have to be promoted like this by these two great ladies? I can't figure it out. I'm not acting anymore. What kind of sh*t is this? You can find someone else, whoever you want. Anyway, I'm not acting anymore. Ren Chong's mentality finally lost balance. He waved his hand fiercely and turned to leave. Zhao Yueling saw her senior brother flipping the table. Although she was also afraid, she had no choice. She and her senior brother were tied to the same boat. If it has to be like this, Brother Ren's sacrifice is really too big. I can't accept it. This is too different from our contract of intent. If it really can't be done, Brother Ren and I will quit. You can find someone else. Many people are lining up to shoot director Deng's film. I'm really sorry. But I hope the box office will be a big hit. This is too much. I yield step by step, step by step. This is really bullying. I, Rin Chong, am the male lead with a total box office of 3 billion. I just won the Best Actor this year. Even if you want to promote a newcomer with a little bit of foundation, I will play a supporting role for him. I will accept it even if you change the script like this. Now it is clearly a bad film and I still play a supporting role. This really has a great impact on my acting career. I really can't accept it. Ren Chong was really going to leave after saying that. Deng Xiaojiang, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were also anxious. If they lost Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling at this critical juncture, people inside and outside the industry would think that they were too overbearing and unreasonable. On the other hand, it was not easy to find actors of the same level as them. Planning a show, especially with Deng Xiaojiang's style, had extremely high requirements for the actors' schedules. In the end, if everyone really fell through, it would only be a lose-lose situation. Who knew how long it would take to start the project again? As his ally, Kong Qing also gritted his teeth. If it really can't be done, then let's put this film on hold for the time being. I won't be able to report when I go back. Why don't we postpone the press conference today? Let's discuss again? In the distance, Zhouye had just arrived. From afar, he could smell the gunpowder in this small group. He quickly shrank back and did not dare to show his head. He huddled in the corner of the wall, not daring to approach. He patted his chest, still in a state of shock. He secretly rejoiced, "Thank goodness my eyes are sharp. Otherwise, I would not have been able to get out if I had gone in head first. I don't care about anything anyway. I'm just a nobody. I'll act whatever you want me to act. I'll act however you want me to act." At this moment, Zhouye raised his head and saw Qin Guang walking out of the elevator. The man's current appearance was a little awkward. He was actually wearing a large straw hat on such a hot day. Compared to the last time he saw him at the Wujing Film City, this young man was really becoming more and more like a star. Zhouye would never forget this young man's gray and unsightly appearance. After all, this loser had smilingly won 80,000 yuan from his trouser pocket on the set. Of course, he had no intention of getting close to Qin Guang. Instead, he quietly turned his face to the wall, looking as if he was thinking about life. "Who wants to go into the fire with you?" "Yo, brother Zhou. Long time no see. You're in this film too." 2 streams of tears rolled down Zhouye's cheeks. "Your eyesight is as good as mine." "Yeah, long time no see. I'm the 3rd male lead." The veteran actor turned around and squeezed out a smile. "What a coincidence. Then brother Zhou, shall we bet something this time?" "I'm just kidding. Look at you. Don't worry, I'm not as short on money as I used to be. Anyway, I'll have to ask for your help this time." Qin Guang had a good impression of this man who was willing to admit defeat. Regardless of the amount of money or the reason, he had given him 80,000 yuan for free back then. It was like sending charcoal in a snowstorm. It was more friendly than someone else giving him 800,000 yuan now. "You flatter me, you flatter me." Zhouye was tugged on by Qin Guang's sleeves and dragged inside. "By the way, brother Zhou, I have a friend who's a fan of yours. Can you give him an autograph?" "No problem, no problem. I'll give you as much as you want. Even if it's just a book, it's fine. Don't pull me. Don't actually go to the front desk to borrow a book." No matter how much Zhouye struggled, he was still dragged inside by Qin Guang. It was about 9:30 in the morning. The 2 of them turned the corner and entered the lobby. Qin Guang could smell the gunpowder in the air. Jiang Yage's face was so dark that one could squeeze water out of it. Jin Shiyue's face was also stony. Big Beard looked left and right in embarrassment. The 2nd male lead, Ren Chong, and the 2nd female lead, Zhao Yueling, also had ashen faces. Beside them, there was a middle-aged man who looked both embarrassed and angry. There was no need to think too much. This conflict must have arisen because of him. When he thought of this, he was both angry and amused by these pitiful mortals. "You guys take the clothes." Seriously, there were many people like you who doubted my abilities in the past. Now they're sending me letters every day, okay? Chapter 673. While they were quarreling, Qin Haodong suddenly came. Yesterday he didn't show up for some reason, but today he came early, which caught some people off guard. Jin Shiyue's expression changed. She patted Jiang Yage's back secretly, and then turned to Qin Guang. Seeing that he covered the bandage on his head with a straw hat, it was obvious that he was injured. She couldn't help but feel distressed. When she got closer, she took the initiative to pull his arm and take him to the side. She said half reproachfully and half coquettishly, Grandpa called and said that you ran away from the hospital. Did you really run away by yourself? What if your injury got worse? Qin Guang smiled and waved his hand. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This injury is not a problem for me. Qin Guang was pulled aside by Jin Shirui, and then asked again, what the hell is going on? Jin Shirui didn't want to tell him, but she knew that sooner or later it would be revealed, so she simply told him the current situation. After listening, Qin Guang understood. It was exactly as he had expected. No one trusted his ability. Not to mention the second male lead, Ren Chong, the second female lead, Zhao Yueling, and the other investor representative, Kong Qing, even Big Beard Deng Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage were not sure. He sighed in his heart. After all, his experience of playing a small role last time had caused too much psychological trauma. He couldn't blame others. If he were the director and investor, he would also have no confidence in his heart. After all, he used to be responsible, and he couldn't open his mouth and tell others that the old man had practiced in the world in the cup. He could only blame himself for not acting before to prove himself, even if it was a music video. On the other side, Kong Qing, Ren Chong, and Zhao Yueling saw Jin Shirui whispering to Qin Guang, and Deng Xiaojiang and Jiang Yage had begun to close their mouths and pretend to be crazy. They were getting more and more anxious. This couldn't work. They were using a delaying technique. The press conference would be held in half an hour. Once the matter was said at the conference, it would be completely settled. At that time, it would be difficult to go back on their words. As a result, the three of them began to ridicule the bearded man again. As for Jiang Yage, the three of them did not dare to provoke her. She had proved her fighting capacity. She was definitely at the level of a great aunt. We can't afford to provoke you, but we can avoid you, okay? You're right. We'll agree to it. I'll turn around and complain to Big Beard. That's fine, right? Before Qin Guang came, Jiang Yage was very fierce. Her combat power was as high as 90,000 points. It was really strange. The saying, everything has its vanquisher, came true when it came to her. When Qin Guang stood there, even though they were whispering to each other 10 meters away, Jiang Yage couldn't help but act like a lady. She also knew that her blindness would only bring more trouble to Qin Guang. She was also reflecting on this matter in her heart. Shirui, what you mean is that Qianda Entertainment is threatening to withdraw its investment because of me, and those two are also threatening to stop acting because of me? Qin Guang concluded as he stole a glance at Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling. Honestly speaking, the two of them might be the second best in this film, but they're still first-rate celebrities that frequently appeared on television. Qin Guang had quite an impression of them, especially Zhao Yueling, who walked the route of sexiness. She was also someone that appeared on the cover of men's clothing in the past, and her photo was widely circulated in the male dormitory, leaving a deep impression on him. Jin Shirui nodded. It's like this. In fact, it's not a big deal for Qianda Entertainment to withdraw its investment. Solomon and I can think of a way to make up for it. It's just that if we don't get along because of this reason, Qianda Cinema will suppress the movie after it's released. Qin Guang said curiously, they are so bold? You don't even care about your reputation? Jin Shirui shrugged. Do you really think Solomon and I are royalty? It's business. How can we use power to suppress others? Besides, Qianda Entertainment has a say in Grandpa's place. But that's not the most troublesome thing. Now I'm afraid that Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling will break their contract and stop acting. It's easy to find ordinary actors, but it's actually quite difficult to find good actors who can support a film and meet director Deng's casting standards. Jin Shirui didn't finish her words. In fact, she just didn't want the film to be put on hold. Apart from shooting with Qin Guang, she really couldn't think of any other reason to get together with Qin Guang. Okay, I know what's going on. Okay, I'll go talk to them. Everyone is reasonable. As for Qianda Entertainment, they are not the only cinema chain in our country. Although Qianda Entertainment is the largest, as long as the film is good and the box office is good, they can suppress us if they want. It's just that they can't live with money. Don't worry. After asking clearly about the matter, Qin Guang had an idea and went into the crowd. Jin Shirui followed behind him and couldn't bear to roll her eyes. According to her previous thinking, it was easy for Big Beard's film to have a good box office and a good reputation. But this time there was you. My sweetheart, you should be a little more conscious. Frankly speaking, Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui were already mentally prepared to shoot a so-called blockbuster that would explode with word of mouth and rely purely on screenings and box office to forcibly pull it up. It was impossible to do this kind of fake thing without Qianda's cooperation. On the other side, Kong Qing saw that he was approaching and knew that the main character was here. He made up his mind and thought that this was the last chance. It was better to let the main character know the difficulties and retreat than to find someone else to argue with. He suddenly raised his voice. Old dang, I've said all the good and bad things to you. The film is too different from the previous contract we signed. I'll take your new script back to reevaluate it. It definitely won't pass the review of the consultant group. I really want to work on this film with you, but you also know that I can't make the final decision on my own. If you insist on doing things your own way, then Qinda Film and Television will really withdraw their investment. Seeing this, Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling also followed. This was the last chance to struggle. Director Deng, you also know that I wholeheartedly want to cooperate with you. But if I play the second male lead for Chen Guang, not to mention me, even my team won't agree to it. Our big star is here. Mr. Chin, I'm a fan of your car. A friend of mine saw your race in Xiangjiang. Later, he specially asked me to go to your Weibo to see the miracle. I really admire you. But as a matter of fact, your crossover is a little too fierce. Think twice. How about we slow down the pace a little? I don't want to act in a bad film. It really hurts people's popularity. If you're the first male lead in a bad film, it will also have a very bad impact on your film and television industry. Ren Chong could be said to have played his speaking skills to the extreme. If not for the fact that no faith value appeared on his head, Qin Guang almost really thought that he was his car fan. This damn liar, fooling me like a little kid. Zhao Yueling also struck while the iron was hot. Ren Chong played the good cop, so it was her turn to play the bad cop. As a woman, she had some pride and willfulness. Zhao Yueling crossed her arms in front of her chest, making her voluptuous breasts even more prominent. Her chin was slightly raised, further adding to her arrogance. Mr. Chin, nowadays it's popular to be able to act if you're good at it, or if you're famous, you can act. But as you can see, how many of our country's little fresh meats have acting skills? It's nothing more than taking the route of a fan economy, but it won't last long. I also acted step by step from a small role to where I am today. This kind of food has to be eaten one bite at a time. Don't think of eating yourself into a big fat person. Even if you rely on director Deng, Miss Jean, and Miss Jiang to act as the first male lead today, what's the point when you get scolded by others? Maybe you're just playing, but when the time comes you'll just go and do something else. We'll be in a difficult position. I really can't accompany you. Now, in front of the main character, they finally said all the unpleasant words in one go. Jiang Yage put her hands on her hips, glared, and was about to explode. Chen Guang silently grabbed the back of her clothes and gently pulled her, then gave her a look, asking her to behave. At this moment he understood the biggest trouble today. Qinda's withdrawal of investment was really not a big deal, but these two actors were difficult to deal with. However, the moment he saw these two actors he already knew how to deal with them, but he just hadn't decided whether to use it or not. Now that I've already made things clear, why don't you give me some face? You're trying to climb all over me and make things difficult for me. You want me to back off? From your standpoint, I can understand you. But from my standpoint, I'm angry. The old man felt that they were slapping his face. You don't want to act? Then I'll let you act. Even if you're so angry that you're vomiting blood, I'll let you grit your teeth and act. Whatever grievances you have, you'll have to swallow them. He grinned. Mr. Ren, Miss Xiao, I understand what you mean, but I have my own views. Why don't the three of us talk in private? Those who didn't know Qin Guang would be a little confused, but those who knew him could smell danger. Jin Shiyue wanted to persuade him, but Qin Guang still smiled. It's okay. I'm really just talking. It's just that it's not convenient to say this in front of others. Shiyue, don't let your imagination run wild. Jiang Yage also wanted to persuade him, but Qin Guang had long known that Jiang Yage had pestered others unreasonably because of him, so he simply made the first move. I haven't said anything about you, Yage. It's rare for us to cooperate, so let's talk about it. You have to be reasonable. How can you throw a tantrum so easily? Jiang Yage felt a little wronged, but she actually pouted her lips and lowered her head. Okay, I got it. The others were shocked by this scene. The devil incarnate Jiang Yage was actually subdued with just one sentence? Okay, let's talk over there. Ren Chong was not stupid. There were a lot of people here and everyone was watching. Qin Guang would not beat people in broad daylight. The three of them turned to one side, but Qin Guang was not in a hurry to speak. Instead he smiled amiably. I'll call someone else. Then he craned his neck and glanced around the conference room looking for someone. Today Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu of Tianguang Agency were busy with other things. After 2 days of hard work, they finally found some clues and were ready to spend money on Qin Guang's Guinness program. Only LV Xiaoyang came to the conference. But Qin Guang needed LV Xiaoyang at this time. Buttface, come here. Chapter 674. Qin Guang waved at Lu Xiaoyang, who was hiding in a corner and pretending to disappear. Lu Xiaoyang was quite regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have stood closer. Damn. Can you not call me buttface in front of so many people? I can't raise my head anymore. When Lu Xiaoyang walked closer, Qin Guang pulled him to his side. Let me introduce myself. I am the manager of Qingguang Agency's Publicity and Public Relations Department. I am Lu Xiaoyang. He was the deputy editor of Zhuo Wei's 8 weekly magazine. Yes, he was the former #1 paparazzi in China. He was Lu Xiaoyang's fighter. His nickname is Hell's three-headed dog. That's why I call him Dog 3. Come on, Dog 3, tell us where you were and what you were doing on the night of July 31st, 2012. Who else is there? That's right, the two of them happened to be one of the hot topics in H-Disc. Truth be told, Qin Guang did not want to bring out his trump card, but the two of them were too much. They would stop performing at the slightest provocation, lecturing him about life and philosophy. Furthermore, they even put on the airs of seniors in the industry, acting as if they were doing it for his own good. You slapped me in the face, but you still smiled and said that I did this for your own good. You should thank me. That's so annoying. But come to think of it, the two of you have quite the taste. As Qin Guang spoke, he examined Zhao Yueling. Although I know that you're walking the path of sexiness, your ferocity is still extraordinary. Lu Xiaoyang looked at Qin Guang silently. President Qin, I followed you to do great things with you. You made me feel like I trusted the wrong person. How could you ask me to do such a thing? How could you remind me of the cruel fact that I used to be a paparazzi? I want to forget those days and nights. Why did you, Long River City, Imperial Garden Villa District, Building 13, 4th floor, room 1343. Why did I answer you directly? God, please believe me, I really am an honest media person, I am not a paparazzi. When Qin Guang mentioned the time, Rin Chong and Zhao Yueling couldn't recall anything. After all, it wasn't the first time that the two of them did something similar over the years, so how could they remember every single time? However, after Lu Xiaoyang pointed out the place, memories started to surface in his mind. He should be able to recall something. Qin Guang tried hard to make himself look very upright. He really didn't want to show the slightest bit of frivolity. After all, he didn't want Zhao Yueling to misunderstand that he had any thoughts about her. But this kind of thing, if he had to say it out loud, even if it wasn't wretched, it could only be wretched. Mr. Rin is at the bottom, Heavenly Empress Zhao is in the middle, and there's a sandwich at the top. Cough cough, a three-way pipe. Strong, invincible, quite costly. Towards the end, Qin Guang blushed a little, but he held on. Zhao Yueling's beautiful face paled, and Rin Chang's face turned even paler. Although his memory was a little blurry, the two of them had indeed played very crazily with one of the company's executives that night. It had actually been filmed. Actually, I really didn't want to mention this. Oh right, both of you are the main producers of the movie and are colleagues in the same boat. It doesn't seem too appropriate to say this about me on Weibo, right? Qin Guang took out his phone again. On it were the doubts that Rin Chong and Zhao Yueling had about Qin Guang's standards after they went back last night. The two of them were also openly and secretly building up momentum online. On one hand they were pressuring Big Beard Deng, and on the other hand they were really planning to push all the blame to Qin Guang, Big Beard, and Jin Jiang after the movie was cancelled. Qin Guang's meaning was very clear. The two of them had done the first thing first, and now he didn't intend to do the second. He was just giving them a kind reminder, and it wasn't too much. Lu Xiaoyang rolled his eyes. He had watched this movie with Qin Guang that afternoon. In fact, he couldn't see anything clearly and the effect was terrible. However, Chief Chen's level of storytelling was really high. His words were concise and to the point, and when he listened to it he could actually feel the rich picture vividly on the paper. As expected of Chief Chen. He nodded slightly as if he was wandering in the sea of memories again. Mr. Chen, this is a misunderstanding. It must be a misunderstanding. Rin Chong waved his hands repeatedly. Zhao Yueling blushed at first, feeling ashamed and angry. However, she was not a little girl after all. She had been in the industry for a long time. Although she looked bright and beautiful in front of outsiders, she was able to get to her current position in the A-list without any background. She was already an experienced person and she quickly calmed down. Although she was still crossing her arms, she pushed her chest higher and smiled at Qin Guang. Mr. Qin, you really know how to joke. Alright, I know I was wrong, okay? If there's anything we can discuss it. This movie, I promise I will give my life to act well. Mr. Qin, please don't scare me. Her voice sounded very coquettish and her eyes were flying. However, her back was facing Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage in the distance. Her body language did not show any abnormalities. Only the few of them understood her overt and covert hints. The two of them were also helpless. Previously, they knew a little about the incident between Qin Guang and Bajou Magazine. Bajou Magazine was really unlucky, but who would have thought that Qin Guang would eat it up? In addition, this Cerberus was too scary. It was fine if you were a paparazzi, but you had 3 heads. If you could be given this nickname, how sensitive and fierce your sense of smell must be. In the past, when you worked with a rascal like Zhuo Wei, you were already a Cerberus. Now that you worked with Chen Guang, who had a powerful background, wouldn't you become a Cerberus? That was really scary. Being secretly sized up by the two of them with fear and hidden hatred, Lu Xiaoyang actually wanted to clarify that he was actually a good person. However, Qin Guang did not give him a chance. Okay, Cerberus, that's all for you. Go and have a rest. When Qin Guang, Ren Chong, and Zhao Yueling returned to the crowd, the situation had completely turned around. Needless to say, Kong Qing knew that they had been dealt with by Qin Guang just by looking at their apologetic eyes. What about the alliance? What about making trouble together? How could you two betray me just like that? What the hell did Qin Guang do to you? Are you going to put me on the fire and sell me? I, Kong Qing, am not a big shot? Aren't you afraid of offending me? Kong Qing was very angry in his heart. If he had not come today, he would still have a chance to shirk the responsibility if the movie was a failure. But now he had come to the scene and even talked with Deng Xiaojiang, and he had offended Jiang Yage. In the end, the movie was still made. He must be the scapegoat. I am the scapegoat. I didn't do my job well and I offended Jiang Yage. Why am I so unlucky? What should I do now? Should I continue to threaten to withdraw the investment? Then there is no way to ease the situation, right? Should I pretend that nothing has happened? I can't take the blame for this. At this moment, Qin Guang suddenly said something that made him extremely happy. Mr. Kong, I can understand your Chinda's difficulties. Why don't we do this? Right, uncle? How much is the initial investment of our movie? Kong Qing continued Qin Guang's words. Mr. Qin, what do you mean? The advertising budget is 500 million. In fact, including everyone's pay and other expenses, the initial estimate is about 200 million. After all, our movie is not a blockbuster with special effects. Hearing those words, Qin Guang's eyes lit up as he replied, I'm also in the wrong for this matter. I've just arrived and it's a little too much for Chinda Entertainment to bear the risk for me. Why don't I take over your company's investment myself? This is good for everyone. What do you think? He had just earned 150 million in endorsement fees a few days ago, and he was worried about how to spend it. He knew his own situation very well. This was the first time the world had sent a best actor, and there was Big Beard holding the fort. Other than Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui, Ren Chong and Zhao Yueling, although their private lives were quite messy, had always been good at acting and had a good reputation on the internet. They could be considered famous actors. Zhou Yu was also someone who could handle an entire movie on his own. Such a big production, a high-end cast, and a best actor himself holding the fort. Could this movie make a loss? Alright, even if there was an accident, it wouldn't be to the extent of losing everything. The biggest unstable factor in your hearts is me, but in my eyes, I am the most profitable person, okay? You don't want to earn this money, but I don't want you to earn it. I will set a small goal for myself. Invest 140 million, and earn at least 100 million, right? Besides, you are the one who didn't want to invest. I am taking advantage of the situation to help you take it and solve your problems. I did not offend you, did I? You have no reason to make trouble for me for the screening, right? Everyone was happy, very good. But there was someone who felt sorry for him. Jiang Yage tried to persuade him. It's fine, Sister Shirui and my Huan Entertainment. Don't. Yage, don't. Qin Guang was determined this time. He didn't want to be treated as a man who lived off a woman. Besides, you still don't trust me. You have helped me enough. It's not like I don't have money. I will spend my own money to film it. Even if it fails, I will bear the responsibility. I can also explain to outsiders, right? Why don't you transfer your investment to me? Qin Guang even had his eyes on Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui's investment shares. Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage shook their heads repeatedly, determined not to give in. Looking at his confident appearance, they were almost speechless. The two women thought to themselves, crazy, he has gone completely crazy. Alas, forget it. Even if we lose all our underwear, we can still afford it. After thinking for a short while, Kong Qing gradually calmed down from anxiety and helplessness to frustration and panic. Then his eyes lit up. When I said that I would withdraw my investment before, I was angry or I was threatening you. Although I had no choice but to withdraw my investment, I would indeed offend people, especially Jiang Yage, the devil incarnate. I'm also very afraid, okay? Now you are offering to take over the responsibility. How can I refuse? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, okay? Okay. Kong Qing was afraid that Qin Guang would go back on his words, so he took over the responsibility immediately. Qin Guang's eyes lit up. Hey, it's a deal. Sangu, call Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu to come here. If necessary, call Su Li from the finance department to Yanjing. The first big deal of Qingguang agency is coming. Qin Guang waved his hand. This was the advantage of having subordinates. As the boss, he only needed to set the general direction. As for the specific details of the cooperation, his subordinates would naturally run the errands. Lu Xiaoyang came over with a bitter face. To be honest, he felt like handing in his resignation letter. RCO Qin doesn't play by the rules at all. Unreliable, too unreliable. I don't know what you outsiders are really thinking. This dog, Apui as his lackey, I am very nervous. My Mr. Qin has embarrassed himself. We will definitely send him to a mental hospital before he loses all of the company's money. Brother Qingguang, why is it so lively here? Just as they settled the matter, a loud exclamation came from the corner. Everyone turned around and saw that it was little Tsong, whom they hadn't seen for a long time. Hey little Tsong, why are you here? Qingguang greeted him warmly when he saw his old acquaintance. Little Tsong came closer and greeted everyone before pulling Kong Qing in front of him. Kong Qing helplessly bowed to little Kong. Greetings, Sio little Chang. Little Tsong laughed at Qingguang. One look and I can tell that you don't pay much attention to me. You even asked me why I am here. So cold-blooded and heartless. So sad. Don't keep us in suspense. Just say it. Kong Qing interrupted. Mr. Chen, let me say it. Little Chang is the senior director of Qianda Entertainment, the parent company of Qianda Entertainment. Qingguang thought for a long time. Wait, you are that annoying Chang Xiaotsong who is always talking on the internet? Damn, you only know now. Little Tsong wanted to cry. Chapter 675. Qingguang didn't expect this, but it was also because he didn't pay much attention to Xiaotsong before. Although he also used Weibo, he rarely checked other people's Weibo. He only cared about finding news related to himself all day long. Now he understood everything. Qianda Entertainment was a subsidiary of Qianda Group, and Qianda Cinemas and Qianda Films were subsidiaries of Qianda Entertainment. The chairman of Qianda Group was Chang Qinglin, who was also the richest man in the country on the surface. He might not really be the richest man, but at least in the eyes of ordinary people. Chang Xiaotsong was Chang Qinglin's only son, who was also brother Xiaotsong in front of him. In a sense, if Qianda Films invested in women, Xiaotsong might come for a stroll because of him, and it was understandable. This brother is also not doing proper work. His family has such a big foundation, but he doesn't manage it properly. Instead, he's on the internet all day long, spewing nonsense here and there. In the past, when Qingguang's classmates chatted with each other, they often complained about him. They felt that this guy had nothing to do all day long, and that he was just a nouveau riche blah 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 blah. After so many years of scolding him, it was only now that he found out that he was an acquaintance. It was so embarrassing. But the biggest problem now was that Qingguang was about to kick Qianda Films out. Don't let Xiaotsong. What? What the hell are you doing? Who gave you the ability to withdraw your investment just like that? Boss Lu agreed? Boss Chen agreed? Kong Qing, how dare you? If I didn't come for a stroll, would you really do such a stupid thing behind the company's senior management's back? Well, the impatient Kong Qing had already whispered this matter to Chang Xiaotsong. As a result, brother Xiaotsong really gave him face. The boss Lu and boss Chen he mentioned should be the other senior management of Qianda Films. After all, Kong Qing was just a department manager. But Qingguang said, I really don't want you to give me face. Just withdraw your investment, and let me be a handsome man who quietly earns money. This is good for everyone. However, little Tsong obviously had other ideas. These days, his Bamboo Live broadcast was attached to Qingguang, and he did not know how much he had benefited from it. The number of users has increased several times, and the company's valuation has increased more than tenfold. The entire Bamboo Live broadcasting platform is fiercely attacking the throne of the first in China. All of this was brought to him by Qingguang, which made him yearn for more. Unfortunately, the contract he signed with Chen Guang did not have any binding force on Chen Guang. Well, with Chen Guang's current status in the underworld, even if there was binding force, he could not do anything if Chen Guang wanted to break the contract. Therefore, Xiaozong couldn't let Qinda Film and Television offend Chen Guang because of women. He said that he was just there to take a look, but in fact he wanted to prevent this from happening. Kong Qing made the decision based on his judgment of the market. He was 100% sure that as long as he brought it back to the shareholders' meeting, no one would object. How could he have thought that it would lead to President Chang? For a moment he was confused. President Chang, it's not like that. Mr. Chen, although he is a celebrity, he is not an actor trained in acting. He has no experience at all. It's an investment of more than 100 million, what if it fails? Shut up. Chang Xiaozong was really angry. Why is this guy so blind? Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't understand this? Do I have to F***king tell you everything that's on my mind? The benefits that I, Bamboo Live Broadcast, have gained from Chen Guang are worth at least hundreds of millions, okay? If you offend him here, he will go back to another company. Who do you want me to cry to? The loss is far more than 200 million, okay? You don't understand the current status of Chen Guang in the world of live broadcasting and internet celebrities. So what if it fails? I just want him to fail so that he will owe me a favor, okay? You lose here, I earn there, and the rest will come back, okay? The position of the investor? The position of the entire Qinda Group is the position, okay? You're so narrow-minded and short-sighted. You're making such an important decision, and you don't even discuss it with the higher-ups? Chen Guang was also afraid that Xiaozong would forcefully pull back the investment from Qinda Film and Television, so he helped Kong Qing to smooth things over. Xiaozong, you're not in the film industry and your judgment may not be accurate. I think there's nothing wrong with President Kong's thinking. Since I want to play, you don't have to drag me down. Don't scold President Kong, I've already decided to shoulder it myself. Let's end this here. Xiaozong was anxious. Brother Guang, are you trying to draw a line with me? You can't. He quickly pressed down on Chen Guang's shoulder. No, it's not like that. Now that we're making movies in our country, it's secondary whether the movie is good or not. Oh no, I'm not saying that director Deng's standards are not important, but the entire market is based on the fan economy. It's the era of young male idols. Acting skills are not important, really not. With my brother Guang around, with just his face and enough publicity, even if our acting is a mess, we'll still get 1 billion yuan in the box office, okay? Furthermore, no matter how bad brother Guang's acting is, can it be worse than those young male idols with facial paralysis and embarrassment? Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Those who knew would know that you were supporting me, but those who didn't would think that you were scolding me, you son of a b*****. Besides, you've gone around in circles for so long, but aren't you also looking down on my acting skills and thinking that I'll definitely mess it up? Then I have no choice but to kick you out. Otherwise, if you look down on me now, you'll have to rely on me to earn money in the future. Wouldn't that make me sick? Chen Guang waved his hands and feet. That's not right either. If I mess it up, even if you praise me all over the internet, the box office will still flop. No, you guys should withdraw your investment. Withdraw. Xiaozong shook his head like a rattled drum. No withdrawal. Definitely not withdrawal. Even if you beat me to death, I won't withdraw. A group of people at the side saw Chen Guang and Xiaozong arguing until their faces were red, and they felt that something was wrong. That's strange. Why did their positions seem to be completely reversed? Wouldn't Qinda withdrawing its investment be a terrible situation for Chen Guang? Wouldn't that mean that he would have to use his own money to take the blame? Besides, Xiaozong, you weren't this stupid in the past, right? You knew that women with Chen Guang as the male lead was a fire pit, so why did you still rush into it? Kong Qing felt that he was the unluckiest person. He really couldn't understand what went wrong with his judgment. Besides, although President Chang was a senior director of Qinda Entertainment, he almost never interfered with the actual operations of Qinda Entertainment, unless it was for his own show. Usually he spent most of his energy on his own Bamboo Live broadcast. But today he suddenly interfered. Wait, Bamboo Live broadcast? F***ck, I seem to have overlooked something very important. Chen Guang and President Chang were very close. Previously, his live broadcasts were all on President Chang's Bamboo platform. Kong Qing wished he could give himself a slap. He finally realized that the hottest form of entertainment in the country was not movies or television dramas, but live broadcasts. Now that President Chang wanted to make Bamboo popular, he couldn't afford to offend Chen Guang. Yes, President Chang is right. President Chin, I was stupid just now. I apologize to you. After figuring out the crux of the matter, Kong Qing quickly changed the topic. Luckily it was in public. Otherwise he would have knelt down in front of Qin Guang. Qin Guang's balls hurt. Are you guys sick? Aren't you guys annoying? Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui were already speechless. They felt that they couldn't understand the thinking of this group of people. Big Beard Deng didn't even have the interest to interrupt. His mind was in a daze. What was going on with this world? Rin Chong, Zhao Yueling and Zhou Ye, who were watching from the side, sighed in their hearts. It was good to be rich. Although they weren't poor, it was rare to see two sides fighting to burn 140 million for nothing. It was the first time in their lives that they had seen it. As expected, one could see all kinds of strange things after living for a long time. The ancients didn't lie to me. However, Ren and Zhao felt a lingering fear when they thought about it. Luckily, they admitted defeat at the crucial moment. It seemed that the consequences of offending Qin Guang were more serious than they had imagined. Enough. Stop talking. We had just agreed on something. How could you change it so easily? Little Tsong, come with me. Qin Guang pulled Little Tsong to the side. When the two of them walked far away, Qin Guang directly exposed Su Tao's thoughts. Save it. I know that you're afraid that I'll get angry and not broadcast it on your bamboo. Aren't you looking down on me too much? Am I such a narrow-minded person? Little Tsong thought to himself, if you aren't narrow-minded, then everyone in the country is a prime minister with a big belly. No, it's not like that. Little Tsong didn't care what he thought. On the surface, Little Tsong gave him enough face. Qin Guang shrugged. That's it then. We've been having a good time working together on the live broadcast. I don't have that much time to waste. Although I have my own company now, I'm not interested in jumping around. Don't think about it blindly. As for the movie, since director Kong and I have already agreed on it, then it's settled. I won't change it. If you insist on letting Chenda Entertainment continue to be involved in women, then I'll really jump ship. Little Tsong was dumbfounded. Qin Guang's attitude was very firm. Actually, he knew that when the movie was finished, Little Tsong would definitely understand why he wanted to kick Chenda Entertainment out. This movie would not be ruined. But that was not important. To put it bluntly, he and Little Tsong were business friends, not close brothers. He had made a lot of money from the live broadcast. It was enough that they had a good time working together. As for the movie, I will earn it myself. You don't have to come. In other words, if you really trust me in acting, I can share some profits with you. But if you look down on my acting, I have no intention of letting you win without doing anything. Alright, Sai. How about this? You should at least leave 10% of the investment for Chenda Entertainment. That way when it's released I can help you make more arrangements. Little Tsong said helplessly. Qin Guang thought about it in his heart. Little Tsong's suggestion was not wrong. Alright, then it's settled. The group of people talked about all sorts of things and finally settled the matter before the press conference officially started. Changing the contract at the last minute was a lot of work. Luckily, Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu were nearby and had already rushed over. They were professionals in this matter. Seeing the representatives of the three companies gathering together to organize the new contract, Jin Shirui was still not at ease. She tugged at Qin Guang's sleeve and asked, "Have you really decided?" Qin Guang nodded. "Of course. 120 million. Jiang Yage said. Qin Guang said casually, "Why are you so sure that I can't act well?" Jiang Yage pointed at Yu Hong, who was stamping the contract with a sullen face, Lu Xiaoyang, who was pale as a sheet, and Fang Tianyu, who was counting his fingers while calling Su Li. Your employees' faces gave us the answer. Damn it, I will kick them all later. 10 minutes later, the press conference was in an uproar. All the reporters who had rushed to the conference had their eyes wide open. The male lead of women was really Qin Guang. Director Deng's reputation was going to be ruined. Everyone hurriedly lowered their heads and prepared to rush the draft. Damn big news. In addition, after careful consideration and discussion, we have decided to change the investors of women. The final result is that Qingguang Agency will hold 60% of the shares, Huan Entertainment will hold 30%, and Qinda Film and Television will hold 10%. Big Beard Deng held the newly signed contracts of the three families in his hand and read them out loud. Well, it was not enough to describe the situation in the press conference as an uproar. The recording pens in the reporters' hands even fell to the ground. They dug their ears, thinking that there was something wrong with their hearing. Qin Guang took over the microphone and adjusted his straw hat before chuckling. Everyone, please don't doubt it. Yes, you didn't hear wrongly. My Qingguang management has decided to invest in women. Please look forward to it. We will definitely bring you a perfect work. Damn it, are you stupid? Brother all-rounder, do you have to make such a big bet? Do you not care about money? Do you want to lose like this? Big Beard Deng and the others looked at his confident look and did not even have the mood to smile bitterly. Someone send a few cows to drag him back. Mr. Qin, may I ask why you are so confident that you can act as the male lead of this movie? Hello, Almighty Superman. I am your fan, but don't you think your decision is too hasty? After all, Director Deng, we all know that you are a director who pursues excellence. You finally decided to let Qingguang be the male lead. Is it because he has invested in this movie? Aren't you afraid that it will be a bad movie? So, the domestic film market is so impetuous now? Even a famous director like Director Deng will let an investor who can't act at all be the male lead? After a short silence, the reporters in the press conference were in an uproar. Qingguang looked at the people in the press conference, closed his eyes slightly and controlled his emotions. To be honest, he really wanted to tell everyone that they were questioning the world's best actor. But he held it in because no one would believe him just by saying it. They would only think that he was a fool. Silence. Everyone's silence. All of your problems can be left to time. Qingguang waved his hand and announced the end of the conference. It turned out that it was not just the people in the press conference who did not have high hopes for him. Perhaps, except for Qingguang himself, everyone in the country who knew about this had the same thought when they heard that Qingguang Agency had squeezed out 60% of Qinda Entertainment's investment. Brother All-Rounder had become arrogant. Brother All-Rounder had gone crazy. Brother All-Rounder had taken the wrong medicine. Brother All-Rounder's ability to squander was as good as his gaming ability. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.